Hail to all, this is Bear Nerd Fun. And I got with me Tommy. How you doing, Tommy?
What's going on, everybody? The Guinea Pig Collective is alive and well, and we are back to cause mayhem.
Yeah, you know, it's a funny thing, man. You send a link out and bitches don't show up. That's all right. We can still have some fun. You know, and every time I send the link out to somebody, and and then they don't show up and shit, and I give it a little time. I wait. I even went out to the van to get a pack of smokes, and you send out links, and no one shows up. So what's up with that bullshit?
Kind of feels like an episode of the Jersey Shore, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Did Snooky get the message? She didn't show up again, did she?
No.
Bitch.
No, so yeah. So you got this, that, and the other one. You got Access Media in some cases defending really bad TV shows, and I don't know how. Hey, Angela Straven, no problem, man. I know you mod for Steven, so I figured I'd throw you a wrench. Hail, Sentinel. How you doing? So, yeah. Got all that good stuff.
Well, you know what I think was really funny?
So how you folks doing out there?
Yo, KR Companion, what's up? Sentinel, what's up? Angela Straven, it was good to see you. Now,
Nick, I sent you a link. Check your DM.
I wanted to talk to you about this because I've been out of the loop for a while, and anybody who knows me knows why I was out of the loop for a while because health problems and internet problems, typical average stuff that you put up with. But I recently just found out about this shit with Discovery, that they want to put Discovery as a movie now. So they want to take a failed franchise, a franchise that nobody cares about, nobody wants, and they want to double down on that nonsense, and they want to make a movie of it. Like, where is the sense of that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. How do you pick a failed movie, or I'm sorry, a failed franchise, a failed TV franchise, and say, this would make a great movie? Why? So you could turn around and say all the people who refuse to watch the show, who are now refusing to watch a movie, are a bunch of racists because they didn't go to see it? Is that why?
That's pretty much what they want to do.
They're going to have that Sonequa Green in it again, reprising her role. And that's what it's going to be. Oh, they don't want to see it because they're a bunch of racists.
Of course. You'll have that.
Damn the patriarchy. When will my people be free?
I think I inhaled a dust ball. A little bit of water for the situation. But yeah.
Yeah.
Nick,
I don't. KRC Companion, yeah.
Hey, Nick, come on in anyway, man. I'm sure your fan won't be that noisy. I mean, it can't be any noisier than when I have two fans on my laptop going. That's pretty loud. So, yeah. Sometimes I can only do so much, Sometimes you just got to take a break, and, I took a little break for a little while. And sometimes you have to, And so we're back.
I'll tell you what, the 2 weeks that, between me being sick and this internet problem, it felt like it was 2 months. It felt extremely long.
Oh, and just so you know, when you send a DM on Twitter, that little check tells you someone's seen the DM. Just throwing that out there. For those people that like to say, "Oh, I didn't see that until later." It's like, well, I knew right when you saw it. That's the way Twitter works,
Yeah, buddy.
DMs,
All you have to do is click on that little little bar right next to the message, and it can show you everybody that's read it. It's amazing what technology can do. Sucker!
Isn't it, though? Isn't it? Yeah, if it isn't Brazilian pepper trees littering the yard, it's this, that, and the other one in technology.
I like how you worked that in. That was nice.
Yeah. And whatever you do not want to eat a Brazilian pepper from a Brazilian pepper tree. Nope. It's toxic.
You don't want to burn it either. It's part of the patriarchy. It will kill you.
Yeah. It releases toxic fumes when you burn it. And I believe there's some other there's another wood. I can't remember if it's one of the softwood or one of the hardwoods, but if you burn it, it's toxic. I can't remember if that's dogwood wood or if it was something else. But yeah, I had 1 foot in Gary, Indiana, and I had 1 foot in Portage because I went to high school in Portage, Indiana, and had plenty of woods to go in, and you learn what you shouldn't burn when you basically spend the majority of your time fishing at the creek and by a fireside at the creek. That was my playground when I was a teenager, early teen till I was late teen. Nothing like going down by the creek and throwing a line in the water and sit there and let go of everything and just be one with nature.
Oh yeah, Angela Straven. Yeah, that's because I didn't go on Twitter like some people and just like brag about my health issues. That's why not everybody knew about it. I let a select group of people know, and if they passed it on, they passed it on. But I didn't go on and brag. Oh, my poor this and my poor that. I don't do that. I will talk about it after the fact if somebody asks me, but I'm not going to sit there and boo-hoo about it on Twitter. That's why nobody really knew for the most part. But I appreciate you saying that. And as far as witch hazel, I'm not really sure. Bear, do you know more about witch hazel as far as like a plant?
As in burning the wood, I'm not sure.
Plant?
I don't know if it's witch hazel is a plant or a tree. I think it's a plant.
I believe it's a plant. I mean, I know they do stuff with it when they break it down and they process it to turn it into the that cleaning solution, but an astringent as it
really?
were. Yeah, well, yeah. You could buy witch hazel, and it's almost kind of like a dumbed down version of say rubbing alcohol or something, because you can still buy it. They do have it. I remember my mother used to use it when I was younger. She used to swear by witch hazel for cleaning out wounds and shit.
Yeah, in Indiana, there is a tree there, pretty big trees that get real big, but they have these long little spiky thorns that grow out of them. I made the mistake one time of climbing that tree. Ooh, buddy. Yeah, my grandmother used to put the home remedy, a mixture of a little bit of butter and baking soda. She put it on a burn. And it was good for burns. Hey, my grandma was a migrant farm worker. She knew all those little home remedy stuff for burns and stuff like that. Also, it's good for bee stings.
First time I ever got the first time I ever got a really, really bad burn was the first time I ever went down to Virginia Beach. And I just didn't think about it because I was originally from Jersey, so when you sit out on the beach in Jersey, you can sit out there mostly all day and you're not really going to get burned bad unless, you're pale as a ghost. But not thinking about it, we went down to Virginia Beach and I sat in the sun for over 3 hours and I burned purple. And what I use
Wow.
They had down by they had the beaches where they have the ocean potion in the stores. I bought the ocean potion that had like Asper cream or something in it, and that shit was fantastic. And that shit worked great.
So yeah, sunburn, man. I remember one time, man, I got a sunburn on my back so bad. My God, man. Ever since then, I didn't go out in the sun for a very long time after that. Because, man, it was so bad that I slept on my stomach for 12 hours after that. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, there's
Let
nothing
me
like
tell
those
you.
sunburns when you get them. They're bad enough the first time you take a shower, you feel like you're taking a shower with like broken glass or something on your skin.
Yeah, cold water, man. Cold water.
Oh, I got a question for everybody in the chat, and this is probably going to get a little bit off topic with whatever we're supposed to be doing, because that's what the Guinea Pig Collective does. We just like go in and we invade a little bit. So I want to ask everybody in the chat, pick one toy franchise from when you were a kid, and let us know in the chat what was your favorite toy franchise. I want to know because I actually do segments on toys from the past, and I'm kind of curious to get a consensus of what some of the people here were interested in when they were kids.
Yeah, mine was. Remember the Evel Knievel motorcycle and the Evel Knievel figure that sat in the motorcycle? You'd stick it in your in the
And
crank,
you'd wind up the base.
wind it up. Well, I broke. I didn't break. I wore out 3. And the 4th one, I didn't wear that one out. But I because every time I wore one out, Dad wouldn't got me another one. And because I was man, I loved Evel Knievel when I was a kid. And you know that Evel Knievel, I think it was his manager that he hit in the head with a baseball bat or something like that. And he went to prison over that one. And my dad, when it happened, my dad had to sit me down and explain what happened. I was 4 years old. I was like, "What happened to Evel Knievel? There's no more toys." I was bummed, man. I was really bummed. I was like, "Why'd he have to do that?" I was 4 saying that.
Oh wow, that's a big list there, Angela Straven. So I actually got 2 of those that one I've actually got completed, and it's waiting to upload next week when I actually start my schedule over. But the other one, the TMNT, is actually on my schedule. As far as Beast Wars, and when you're talking superhero toys, are you talking about the old Mego toys, or are you talking about the small 3.75 inch like Marvel figures and stuff?
Well, there was Batman figures. There was DC figures too.
Well, if you remember, Mego covered almost all of them.
I barely remember that.
Well, the Mego figures, they had Marvel, they had DC. I mean, they had movies like Planet of the Apes. They had Starsky and Hutch. They had a little bit of everything. Oh God, Planet of the Apes. They had tons of stuff for Mego. Oh, okay. The Marvel figures and Spawn figures. No, yeah.
Who made the old Star Wars action figures? The ones that were like
Kenner,
3 inches
tall. Kenner. They had a 3.75 inches tall. That was Kenner.
Yeah.
Kenner was eventually bought out by Hasbro.
Hasbro, yeah.
Yep, that they eventually bought him out, but yeah. And what most people don't know about what Kenner did to George Lucas is George Lucas was in a bind. None of the other toy companies wanted to do business with him. So when he finally wound up finding Kenner as almost like a last resort, Kenner had no product to be able to put out, but they said, "Yeah, we'll do it," and they made a contract that was beneficial to them. So in the end, Lucas only got maybe it was somewhere in between 5 to 15% of all sales of the toys. That's all he got. Kenner walked away with the lion's share of the profit from those toys. Now, the funny thing is they had no toys, and they did the same thing with Star Trek, with the companies that were running Star Trek. I think it was, I can't remember if it was Galoob or who it was offhand. I think it might have been Galoob. They practiced
Scotty,
this thing called.
You have a good night.
Hey, Scott, take care. They practiced thing called label swapping, where basically they took an old product and they just swapped the label on there, saying, "Oh, well, this is a Star Wars game, or this is a Star Trek freaking thing now." But yeah, I still say Lucas was bitter over that whole Kenner thing. When he entered that deal with freaking Disney, I think he was still bitter, and that's why I always said that I think that he was getting some kind of residual percentage back from those original characters and everything.
Well, you know that after all those contracts expired, you know he was probably a little bit smart about you know, letting whoever make the toys for him. But yeah. I remember when I was a kid, in Kmart, the Star Wars section was one aisle long, and the Star Wars section in Toys R Us was one aisle, and sometimes in cases on both sides. You know, a lot of good old toys back in the old days. You know.
Hey everyone, is this working okay?
Oh, you sound good.
Yeah.
Man.
You don't hear the fan going or anything?
No.
Okay,
I hear a little bit of a fan, but I can't hear Bear anymore.
Okay.
Are you sure? Or are you just messing with him, Tommy?
I'm gonna dip out and I'm gonna dip back in because sometimes that'll help me get his sound back.
All right. Hold on a second. No, too late.
I'm using my lapel mic this time, which is less sensitive than the other one, so hopefully it's not as bad.
You know who else I know of that uses a lapel mic? Mike Zero. But I don't think that he has a cover for his lapel mic, or because every time he talks, he whistles.
Oh, I hope I'm not whistling.
Oh no, the whistle from his teeth, the way he speaks. Some mics pick it up.
Got that slurry nessus thing like some slurry.
Only with him, it's kind of high pitch, and I have a hard time getting through on his videos. When he's got his levels perfect, it sounds good. But every now and then, he'll have his levels are weird, and it'll make his voice weird, and because he doesn't have a pop filter on his little mic he's using, a little piece of foam over it. It picks up the whistle, the air going through your teeth and stuff,
Oh, yeah. Of course.
How's that, Tommy? Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. I does that.
Maybe it's because you're using an Apple device.
Maybe.
Is that any better for you?
Let's just say that I think it's because of CenturyLink and their shitty ass internet service because you people suck balls. God, I hate CenturyLink.
Yeah, Angelus, I agree. The toy section isn't like what it used to be. Big time.
Oh, dude, man. I remember walking into places like Kitty City and Toys R Us's, and they had this big, long freaking aisles going all the way down to the end of the store, and they had these huge sections, man. I used to, it was so great, because I was always a huge Transformer fan, and just sitting there, like, going through these big sections of Transformers in either one of those stores, man, I had the time of my life looking at them. Even if I couldn't get them, it was great. You don't see that anymore.
Is this still working okay? You guys hear me all right?
Yeah,
you're fine. You're fine.
I was going to say, yeah, dude, those were the days like when you had to get those little slips of paper to get the NES games. They just had like a whole aisle of just video game boxes.
Up to the front.
Yep.
Yeah, because you had to do the same thing with the systems. You'd go in the back and say, I don't care if it was an Atari Jaguar, a Super NES, or a Genesis. You would have to get the little slip of paper, if they still had them, and then take it up to the front where their freaking video game counter was.
It was like a freaking cage. Yeah, my jam was KB Toys. every time I went to the mall, because you could pile up on X-Men figures and like Toy Biz figures, like $3 for $10.
Nick, the only problem I had with KB Toys is 9 times out of 10, by the time they got their stock from the big companies like Kitty City, Toys R Us, or there was one other one, but I'm forgetting it offhand. But by the time they got their supply, all the really, really good stuff usually was gone, and it was the leftover stuff. You know what I mean? That was the only problem.
They also jacked up their prices.
Yeah. I mean, because they got those things. They got them on the down low. They got them extremely cheap.
I used to go to my grandma's to see my father because that was the only way I could do it. And we'd go to the Laguna Hills Mall here in California. And I fondly remember just picking up all kinds of like X-Men figures, like and Spider-Man figures, because it was all Toy Biz back then.
Well, I'm back.
And they they had great deals in those days. It wasn't the latest and greatest stuff. It was all kind of like more of an overstock deal. Like you really wouldn't find the latest Star Wars figures there, for instance, but you'd find like the older ones, like the peg warmers.
But every once in a while, you could get lucky. Now, I remember they did a Judge Dredd series of figures. Well, it wasn't so much Judge Dredd; it was 2000 AD comics. So they had like what was his name? Rogue something. Rogue. I forget what his name is. But they had him. They had like Judge Death, and they had a few other characters. Now, I managed to snag up a Judge Death, and my brother had bought the only Judge Dredd that they had in the place. But then you would find other stuff, like they had the Max toys, and then they had some of McFarlane's Spawn toys. Like I picked up a big lot of the Pharaoh series of toys, like dirt cheap.
Yeah, well, you could also get like the big play sets. Like I got Spawn Alley there for $5 on clearance, which was unheard of because nobody cared about Spawn at the time. At least kids-wise, they didn't care about Spawn at the time. So it was a cool play set, it was like a whole freaking alleyway. The buildings and like a dumpster. Same thing with the Spider-Man set, the Spider-Man the animated series set that was like the Daily Bugle or whatever. I mean, back in the day, man, we had the good stuff, like toys today, if they're not crazy overpriced, there's just nothing to really, especially like playsets, there's nothing to really do with them compared to like back in the day. Back when toys were made out of die-cast metal and all that and made to last. Well, and nothing ever replaced G.I. Joe. I mean, that was it. G.I. Joe and Transformers were the big ones.
Well, I remember when they started coming out with new series of Transformer figures, and they came out with like the 30th anniversary, and they came out with the Fall of Cybertron and the Generations line in Transformers. The figures were a lot cheaper. They were like, if you mess with them too much, you could easily break them, and it was like that for a good number of years. Now, recently they just came out with a new a line called the Siege War for Cybertron series, and those figures, even though they're plastic, they're actually built a lot stronger. Like I don't know if maybe Hasbro freaking got the message from all the people that were buying their products that they were too cheap, but yeah, they beefed them up a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying they're as good as the die-cast ones or even the old plastic ones, but they're 10 times better than the series that just came like 5 or 6.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, these things kind of go in waves, too. I mean, they had really bad Star Wars figures for, like, the Rebels series and all that. They're really cheap and terrible looking. And then they bounced back.
Power of the Force. Oh, man, was that set horrible.
The 90s version?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually collected every figure from then till episode 3, and they're sitting in my closet in like U-Haul boxes. And the depressing thing is like none of that stuff has appreciated in value.
No, I sold a bunch of them. I sold like maybe about 15 figures like about a couple 2 years ago. I needed some extra cash, and I have my little eBay store, and I went to sell them. Man, I think I got $20 15 figures, and I'm talking a few of them. were like special figures that came from games. Like there was one that came from Escape from the Death Star game. It was a special Darth Vader figure or something like that, or it was a Luke Skywalker in a Stormtrooper outfit or something weird like that.
Yeah.
And they were all worthless. They were worth nothing.
My favorite figure I have that used to be worth crazy money, now it's not worth much, is a mint condition Jedi Theater Luke, which they only gave out in line or at theaters for Return of the Jedi Special Edition. And it's got the Star Wars Special Edition logo on the front of it. I still have it in like a hard plastic case. Just cool to look at, but that used to be all the rage. The only one that's really retained its value is the George Lucas, George the Cool Stormtrooper figure, which I also have. That one's still worth a good pretty penny.
Yeah, Sentinel. Imagine that. Hasbro calling their fans toxic. They wouldn't be able to sell nothing.
The funny thing about KB Toys is it had all kinds of different logos. It still said KB Toys, and it was spelled all sorts of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
No, Sentinel, they're too expensive.
Howdy.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So, how was your evening?
Well, we ended up getting the official announcement that we're closed now for 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling that was going to happen, didn't we, huh?
Yeah. I kind of thought that might be coming, and it did. So, thank goodness it's paid, so that's a good thing. But
I heard them.
I don't know.
I heard them actually talking about stopping all air traffic.
They have, yeah. I have heard that they might be stopping national, or regional air traffic, not just international. And someone just dropped out. Was that Tommy?
That's Tommy.
And
probably couldn't hear you. He's going in, then coming back.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, both of you?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and also there's rumors that we might be under quarantine at some point here, but I don't know if how that's gonna go. But
you work at an airport or something?
No. I just had a friend who has a contact at the CDC and had mentioned something about possibility. But Hoboken, New Jersey just enforced a curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. No one in the streets. So it seems to be slowly happening. We'll see.
Well, that you know where the majority of the deaths have been?
Washington, I think.
Yeah, 31 last
I know. You're up. Yeah, I know. You're like in the hotbed.
And I think the majority of them, I haven't really looked into who they are, but I think they're elderly.
Yeah, the majority of the country that has died so far is elderly.
Kirkland, old folks home up there, nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the first case was at. And I believe there is a case up in Shelton, but I don't know any details about that. Because the article that I read, I can't freaking find it now.
Yeah, weird. I think Washington was the first case, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Well,
what's up, Tommy?
Hey, man, how's it going, Final? I was telling Bear earlier. I was telling Bear earlier that my wife, because she works for the Florida Highway Patrol, and she's a dispatcher. And they had to evacuate the building today because somebody was showing signs of the virus.
What building was that? Their building?
Their headquarters over there in Fort Myers. Yeah, they had to
evacuate. Highway Patrol?
Yeah, they had to evacuate to get the person out. Because they didn't, I was telling Bear, I said, I understand the reasoning behind it. They can't have a bunch of emergency personnel possibly getting exposed to it.
Yeah.
Their idea was evacuated everybody out, getting the person out of there, and then doing whatever they got to do and bring everybody back in. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about it, though.
I mean, who operates in the meantime? Is there anyone that's operating while they're evacuating, or is it?
Well, I'm pretty.
They have mobile command centers that they
I was
use.
okay. Yeah, I was saying mobile command would have to.
Most cities will have a mobile command center for dispatch stuff.
Well, Florida Highway Patrol has multiple branches. So if one gets an infected and they got to shut it down for a little bit, another one has to pick up the slack and then redirect calls. So, because when the other Florida Highway Patrol dispatch units get overloaded, my wife winds up, getting some of those calls for different counties and everything. So,
that Q predicted this, and apparently there's an author predicted this as well.
Well, yeah. So the author, I did a little research on that. The Dean Koontz, and he wrote a book in 1981 that talked about a virus coming out of China that was bioengineered. It was called something different, right? It had a different name. So they did 1989. They did a reissue, and during the reissue, for some reason, in the edits, they renamed the virus in the book as the Wuhan. I think it was 404 or something like that.
Oh.
So in 81, he wrote it, predicted very similar, not exactly the same, but similar to this. And it was called something different. And then in 89, they did the reprint, the edit. And for some reason, they named it the Wuhan 400.
Well, hey, Final. Did you know that there was another person by the name of Sylvia Brown who was she was psychic. She predicted. Yeah. She predicted the same thing. She said it would be in 2020.
Yeah.
And she said the virus would come on strong out of nowhere. And then by the end of the year, it would disappear just as fast for no reason. But it would come back again.
It's because
it would come back again. Yeah. I heard that too. I think. I
was going to say, I'm pretty sure if you throw enough things at the fence, sooner or later, you're going to hit something. So she might have just got lucky.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the nature of viral, infections. Though they do come and go and come back in cycles.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, we've kind of had the bird flu kind of come and go, in a form. Yeah. Ebola is. I mean, that was not.
Yeah. Didn't you mention Sylvia Brown?
Also, yeah, Sylvia Brown.
Yeah, there's an article that I found. Is it India.com? Yeah, they're talking about Dean Koontz, The Eyes of Darkness, and Sylvia Brown,
the book.
The End of Days.
Was that her End of Days? Was that her where she gave that prediction?
The article talks about it.
I mean, End of Days is a biblical term, from the Bible, from
and it was
Revelation.
also the name of a movie.
With Schwarzenegger. He fights Satan. Yeah.
Really bad movie.
Yeah. A little ridiculous. CGI was a little crazy at the end,
but
a
little ridiculous. But hey, man, who doesn't like seeing?
It's Schwarzenegger fighting. Yeah, it's Schwarzenegger fighting the devil. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I will take End of Days any day over a Discovery movie.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Wait, is that something that's rumored? Are they going to do a Discovery movie?
I seen an article where they said that they were talking about doing a Discovery movie, where they're talking about bringing in Sonequa Green to freaking reprise a role. And I was telling Bear, I said, I think that they're doing it just so they could call everybody toxic and racist because they didn't go see it.
Yeah.
Well, are they going to cancel season 3 then? Because season 3 is supposed to be the end of the series.
Well, that don't really mean nothing. I mean, after they canceled Next Generation is when they finally came out with a movie with the crew of that Enterprise in a movie. So,
but
just
the
because
Next Generation had a decent series finale.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm just saying, it doesn't matter that if the season is canceled or it runs through or not. I mean, if they're planning on doing a movie right after it, because you figure if they're talking about it now, it's going to be a year to 2 years before that movie's even close to completed. So.
Yeah.
All right, I just found something. As soon as I send it to myself, I'll open it up. There's a bunch of information on Reddit.
On what? The Discovery movie?
No, about previous thing we're talking about. There's some information, some detailed stuff. Got to do with distributors.
Oh.
Yeah, product. All right, open that. Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy how far this has gotten in such a short period of time. You think of like bird flu and swine flu, they weren't we didn't have near these kind of precautions.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have any issues with was it H1N1? That was
Yeah,
a big
H1N1,
deal.
which I think was the bird flu H1N1.
Is that what that is? I'm not up to date with all the abbreviations. But,
yeah, I know.
The reason this is such a scare is because it's something new, and of course anything that's new and threatening is going to scare everybody. Because it's like, oh, we don't have a vaccine for it. What are we going to do? How do we fight it? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I don't think H1N1 has a vaccine either. It just didn't get out of control.
Well, neither does the flu.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, yeah. I mean, in a way, you have to build up, immune to it.
Sure.
Your body has to build up some kind of antibodies to it. So, I don't know.
Well, there are already in existence several coronaviruses. This
You're
is
right,
a mutation.
Yeah. That's why I guess that's why they say it's the novel coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because it's a different strand of
it's
already existing.
It's COVID-19 because it originated in late 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Is that me? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking for what I just was looking at.
Yeah, it's interesting anytime you see something that has, like a book that seems so similar to, 40 years later, what we're experiencing now, especially when they call it the Wuhan virus. 8 years after it's written, they edit it and change the name, and then you have like a psychic that says something. I mean, there's all this. It's interesting because you see like The Simpsons and Family Guy. There's a lot of things that they sort of seem to predict somehow, and you wonder, is it predictive programming? Is it just some lucky guess? Is it, some kind of outside vision that they're having that's giving them, some kind of sense of something to come? It's crazy. It's just, you wonder how this happens.
Maybe
it leads to conspiracies.
Maybe the engineers of it just let it slip.
Well, yeah, I mean that's why like predictive programming. Is it intentional that this stuff kind of seems to get out? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it always seems like there's a viral outbreak or a tragedy of some sort right before an election, a presidential election.
Well, that too. Yep. Look at the perfect timing of it. Yeah, I know. That's interesting as well. Wes, you had swine flu?
Say that again.
You see, Wes says he had swine flu. Worst flu I ever had.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, quite honestly, Wes,
in the chat,
you're part of the patriarchy, so I mean that you got that is just not surprising.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's intense. Wow, that's intense. Man, yeah. The worst I ever had was I got bronchitis a few years ago, like 4 years ago, and that was the worst I had. That was bad. My fever was up to like 103.5, which was, it's pretty high. But that's the worst I've had, knock on wood, so far. Hopefully it's the worst I ever had.
Well, we're very fortunate that this is not an airborne virus. Otherwise, you'd have great reason to be concerned.
Hey, they say that through a sneeze that it can linger for 3 hours.
Well,
on surfaces.
I have a friend who is a registered nurse, and there are some myths about coronavirus that the media doesn't tell you. And one of them is sneezing is not a symptom of coronavirus.
Nope.
Dry cough is. Now, here's the deal. So, I'll give you some information I got about basically how the coronavirus tests work, at least in the United States. I don't know about the other countries out there, but In the U.S., what happens if you go to the doctor to get a coronavirus test? Is they will test you for the flu first. If you test positive for the flu, they won't give you a coronavirus test because the coronavirus and the flu cannot coexist together. You either have one or the other. You can't have both. If you
so
test
if you got the
negative,
flu, it's a good thing.
Yeah,
I
mean,
it's like give me the flu.
Now, while this is coming from somebody, say who, but somebody knows somebody in the CDC, and this person said that the coronavirus is nowhere near as bad as the flu. Yeah, it spreads more easily, but it's nowhere near as lethal or as nasty as the flu.
I've also heard that same thing. It spreads. It's more easily spread, but it's not nearly as severe. I mean, the mortality rate is relatively very low unless you have a precondition or you're elderly and your respiratory system just isn't strong enough. Yeah, I've heard that too, Tommy. Which is, I mean, it's on the one hand that's a good thing, but on the other hand, it's like, well then why the heck are we so bent out of shape and taking such extreme measures with this?
Because that is the nature. That's the nature of the beast with the internet now. Because everything is so much faster for everybody to get that information, and everybody panics. I mean, it's the same thing. Okay, you take something as simple as a snowstorm. What happens when there's a snowstorm coming? Everybody panics and they run out to the store and they buy all the bread, the milk, and all these other essentials because they're afraid they're going to get snowed in their house for like a week. When is the last time somebody has gotten snowed into their house for a freaking week, unless you live in the Arctic?
I had a friend that was snowed in for a month but that was in Minnesota 2 years ago. Literally, the car was like I saw the pictures. The car was literally froze. Like there was so much snow packed that they couldn't shovel enough to get because it kept coming and they couldn't get their car out. She worked from home, so she didn't have to leave. She was able to still work, but she was for a month no one could get out. It was in Minnesota. I think it was two or 3 years ago.
Wow.
They moved back to LA because for like a year after that.
You're talking average people. I'm saying like the average person though. Final. I mean, somebody living in South Carolina. Like how much snow do they really get in South Carolina? I mean, I
don't think they even have snow.
Like
I don't.
6 years ago, maybe Georgia got like maybe an inch to a half inch of snow, and they freaked out and they panicked and they left their freaking cars on the roadway.
Not smart.
They don't have any systems in place there. That's why they have no salt trucks. They have no. I mean, not that they need a salt truck for that, but yeah.
Yeah, but like
that's like when it rains here in LA. Yeah, it rains here in LA and people lose their minds. They're driving 2 miles per hour. They all think they're going to hydroplane. It's like that's not how it works. But they're not used to it. I guess you're a victim of your environment, so to speak, when it comes to driving.
Oh, people panic here when we have the slightest rainstorm in LA.
Oh yeah. You in LA too? Oh
God, rain's coming.
Are you in LA?
Yeah, I'm in LA.
Oh yeah, so am I.
That's Nick.
Oh, Nick. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's well, because it's been raining like nonstop for the last few days here.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, I'm
people are losing their minds.
So
oh, okay.
We don't really get a lot of heavy rain here. Like you want rain, go to Georgia. That rain comes down in sheets.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you want 7-8 months of rain, come to Western Washington.
Yeah.
No, I think the funniest down here in Florida is watching the people lose their minds when they know a hurricane's coming.
Oh yeah.
Because we had Hurricane Irma come through and it blew right over top of where we are. I mean, it came right over top, man. It was crazy, the sounds. Because it was the first time I was ever through a hurricane, but I didn't freak out about it. But I was watching everybody else at the store panicking like it was the end of the world, like they were preparing for the apocalypse or something with everything they bought.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's like walking through any store here right now. The shelves are empty and there's no bread.
Yep,
it's really weird.
But anyway.
So I was gonna say, when it comes to like keeping a level head about things, when the media says, "Oh, there's a pandemic out there," everyone's gonna get sick or whatever, the first question I ask myself is, am I sick? Is my family sick? Does anybody I know in my family, do they have it? Do they know anyone who has it? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, at least for now, the question is going to be, well, I know that people out there are sick and dying, but do you personally know someone who is sick, who is receiving treatment? Because if it's such a widespread infection, at least in our side of the country, you'd know about it. Like, it'd be everywhere.
Yep.
It'd be affecting everybody. So until it reaches that point, it's like, well, they say the best defense is to wash your hands. That respect, not to downplay the severity of the virus, but in the way that it's spread, it's not unlike pink eye, which I've got like 2 times going to Disneyland in my lifetime. So I understand why they're closing down the theme parks as a precaution. But I find it kind of ironic that they say not to have groups of large groups of people, and then what happens in the grocery stores and the Costco's, right? Large groups of people fighting over toilet paper. It's nuts.
It is nuts. It's freaking insane.
Yeah, we were talking about that on the show earlier, our Fourth Wave show, that it's like, people are going crazy over toilet paper, and that's like the least of the worries. That's going to be stocked and restocked.
I kind of understand why the toilet paper is being sought after, and it's because it's disposable, right? You can flush it down a toilet and it's gone. You can't do that with paper towels. You can't do that with napkins. You can't do that with cleaning. So there
are some paper towels that you can't flush. Avia, they're the thinnest, softest paper towel made.
It's called Viva.
It's called Avia.
I was going to say, one of the reasons I heard that people were buying all the toilet paper is because some kind of false flag video on YouTube saying that you could use paper towels as a filter for your face.
What?
So they're
gonna...
You guys
there's all kinds of reasons out there.
I think there has to be something, but there has to be something ridiculous that started this. Because obviously, what grew it was the fact that everyone started buying toilet paper, so people started getting worried. Oh my God, if everyone's buying it, then I'm not going to have any. So it created like a pandemic, right, of toilet paper.
Well,
but there had to be something ridiculous to start this, because, like you said, I mean, it's common sense that toilet paper that's not your main concern. There had to be something crazy, like some conspiracy or some rumor that went around that started this, and then once people started buying it up like crazy and the media caught on to it.
Well, apparently that YouTube video went viral, and it was heavily viewed. So you know how viral a YouTube video,
right?
See it, and they're going to think that it's real.
Yeah, I think it had to be something like that. Yeah, I totally believe that. Especially in this, I think this is the first time we've seen like the power of social media, where it can literally shut down the world. I mean, depending on what side you're on, and while this flu-like virus is intense and easily transmittable, it does seem like we've taken measures that are a little beyond what probably needs to happen. But I think that's the power of social media now. When that blossomed, it just spread throughout the world, and there was such hype behind it. Not only the major media they got behind it, pushed it because I'm sure it was selling papers and for them, but also the social media got so intense, and people posting, and how fast information travels. I think it shows how that can literally shut down the world, not just the country, the world.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've become modern generation has become reactionary to everything. And there's an old saying with the media, it doesn't have to be true, you just have to be first. And that's why, like, when you watch media stories, their information changes as the news develops. But these media sites will rush out there and run with the smallest rumor about something and declare it as like fact.
Shit, I finally freaking found
And that's what panics people, you know, like if someone went on the media and said toilet paper is known to host the disease longer, what do you think's going to happen? People are going to stop buying toilet paper, whether it's true or not.
Yeah, and there was also
just
a
the
rumor.
Nature of things.
There was also a rumor that the beer virus was found in toilet paper, but that was a rumor.
I saw that as a meme. I didn't know that was like someone seriously trying.
Someone
to
took it serious,
evidently.
Apparently, the person that was memeing it was just
being
being
you know
funny.
What we need to do? Well, we just need to start the rumor right here that if you eat limes, you'll be safe from it. I want everybody in the chat and everybody on this panel to go out and get limes tomorrow and just eat limes. You'll be fine.
Whoops.
Well, I guess we all can't afford bidets, huh?
Hey, and basically, if you cannot find any hand sanitizer, go get a thing of Pine Sol that kills 99.9% germs. Keep it in your vehicle. Keep a roll of paper towels. You gotta disinfect your hands. Get that paper towel wet with Pine Sol. Wipe your hands off. That's what I did, pretty much. When I had to go up north to the grocery store and come back and go here and go there. Every time I went in, every time I came out, I wiped my hands off with Pine Sol.
Does Pine Sol doesn't affect the skin then?
Some people might be affected, but you know what? I didn't care about my skin. It's just as long as I just keep the germs off my hands, you know? Yeah, bleach.
Well,
bleach
here's
is a little bit too harsh.
For you. I mean,
but bleach is good for cleaning your home.
I don't know if you're. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but most floor cleaners have the same ingredients as toothpaste. So if you're worried
most
about
floor cleaners have the same.
I would. Yeah, same ingredients as toothpaste. There's a lot of the same ingredients in floor cleaners that there are in toothpaste and mouthwash, for that matter. So I wouldn't be too worried about getting a Pine Sol or something on your hands.
Yeah.
You can use antibacterial dish soap too. If you can't find hand sanitizer.
Oh yeah, dish soap works the same. Yeah, it's funny. I went to the store yesterday.
Basically, the reason why I say Pine Sol is because your hands will not be sticky and won't feel soapy once you dry your hands.
Oh yeah, you need water with dish soap. You definitely need water.
Yeah. So that's why I say Pine Sol. And it's got to be regular Pine Sol. It's got the label. It says it kills 99.9% germs. Red label, red little bar with white letters. And that's what I did.
So I went to the store yesterday, and they had a limit on how much hand soap you could buy. You could only buy 2 per person. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I walked over to the dish soap, and I asked the guy, so can you buy 2 of these per person as well as the hand soap? And the guy said, well, yeah, we haven't passed a rule on that yet. I was like, well, it does the same thing, so I guess I'll just grab 2 of these.
Right.
And, it's like, I mean, it's funny that they have a rule like that. It's like, only 2 hand soaps, only 2 dish soaps, but like, well, that's 4. I mean, it does the same thing. Yeah, they allowed it, so.
So this
I got my hand soap, dish soap.
This was on the 14th earlier today, Pacific time. I think. And let's see. This guy says after speaking to his OH when their shift finished yesterday evening, they told me that they had sent out 400,000 boxes of food/supplies with the aim of upping that today to 500,000 by EOD. They are hoping to have all stores they supply restocked back to approximately normal within 2 weeks. And this person goes, my other half works for a major supermarket at one of their regional distribution centers, and I thought it may be useful to provide some information on what they are doing to handle and respond to the recent panic buying we have all seen. Firstly, as far as she knows, there are no plans to shut down, and therefore there should be no reduction in the capabilities of filling orders to individual stores. If staff do become unwell with the virus, they will be fully paid for any time off. Secondly, the supply chain is still very much intact for the warehouses and stores. Trucks are still coming and going as usual, and the majority of items are still arriving in the usual or greater than usual in some cases quantities. Thirdly, most of the staff now are working 10 to 12-hour shifts each day to keep up with the huge surge in purchases of certain items, and they are actively recruiting more and more staff to assist. Fourthly, to ensure shelves remain stocked as much as possible, they are prioritizing certain essential items and will therefore reduce the quantities of other items deemed non-essential, at least in the short term.
What I wonder what items are non-essential. What they deem.
Let me go back to stocks possible prioritize certain.
Well, paper
certain
towels apparently, because nobody
items.
wants to buy them.
No, up here there's no paper towels to be had or toilet paper, and shelves are getting cleared of food.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, same.
Well,
same
yeah,
here.
definitely like canned goods and pasta and all that. Sure. The smart people are buying all the non-perishable foods.
Yeah, canned goods. Hey man,
Yeah,
I ordered.
It's just kind of ironic that prior to this announcement and stuff, I actually went grocery shopping, so I'm stocked up, as luck would have it, on everything that I need.
Yeah, I just ordered groceries online at Walmart.com.
Yeah,
Have you gotten them?
See, the thing is, like, you can order toilet paper off of Amazon if you catch it at the right time.
Yeah, you got to catch it at the right
There's
time.
no toilet paper on Amazon. There's no sanitizer. I looked and looked and searched. Nothing. They're out of everything. They got no sanitizer.
Well, they get restocked. You just have to keep checking.
Yeah.
You see what Sentinel said? Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell him.
Jesus.
Well, yeah, those people will be shut down.
Yeah, there's one that's already shut down.
Yep.
There's a guy who bought $17,000 worth of cleaning supplies, wipes, toilet paper, like all paper products, paper towels, all cleaning products, hand sanitizer. I mean, he bought $17,000 worth, and he tried to sell it on eBay and Amazon, and they both agreed to ban him. So they banned his account, so he can't sell. So I'd be worried for people like that right now. Price gouging like that, they're going to be shut down.
Sure. Yeah.
The guy could have charged 25 cents more and still made a little bit of money, but still everyone bought everything for a reason.
Yeah, there's a difference between like capitalism and opportunity, and just like gouging people ridiculously. Right, exactly.
Abuse of a monetary system, man.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a total
that's
difference.
why Consumer Affairs, the FTC.
Right, fair market price.
Better Business Bureau. That's why they go after them for price gouging. Because we see that when we had Hurricane Irma blow through. They were charging stuff like $50 a sheet of plywood for fucking people to get plywood because they bought everything out of all the stores.
Jeez.
Wow. I remember hearing something about that.
Wow, that's crazy.
We seen it because we couldn't get any. We couldn't get any at all. I had to pull scraps of wood from pallets and stuff that I had sitting in the garage, and I had to pull I had Halloween decorations that were fences and stuff. I had to yank them apart so I could cover up the windows because there was nothing to be had anywhere.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's nuts.
But I mean, it's a good thing those institutions do exist to stop that kind of thing from happening. Because it's like you said, Bear. It's abuse of a monetary system.
Right. It's like, yeah. So I had certain things, I bought on Walmart.com, grocery wise, and believe it or not, I ordered 1 pound block of mozzarella cheese because the store was out. But I ordered it through Walmart because it's the seller that was selling it. $16 for a 1 pound block of really good mozzarella cheese.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, I went to the
And
Trader Joe's that's by me.
It's not that skim milk crap. It's actually real high quality mozzarella.
Whole milk.
They were raving about it, and I went and read up on it, and I'm like, sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make good pizza. You see, my grandmother once upon a time, what she would do is once a month, those big bags. I mean, I'm talking like huge of pinto beans. The huge bag of flour. She bought them that way. Basically, you need a damn wheelbarrow to bring the thing into the house or something,
Sure. Yeah, like big sacks
they
of
sell
rice.
them 50 and 100. They sell them in 50 and 100 pound bags because I used to work for a food distribution company. Used to sell sugar and flour and everything like that. Yeah, they're big ass bags. Usually, you only see restaurants and everything getting them now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how my grandmother bought supplies for the kitchen on the bulk dry goods.
If you can get that kind of hookup and that kind of deal, I mean, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, people over here going nuts buying stuff and all that.
If I have milk and I have bread and I have mac and cheese and butter, I'm pretty good.
You don't need all
Yeah,
that.
I
All
mean-
you need is water and cans of Spam. That's all you need.
That's true.
Oh,
Spam
those
Spam or Twinkies.
those big huge cans of canned chicken.
Yeah.
I got a 6-pack of that.
I
12.5
got
ounce
a
cans.
cabinet full of ramen and chicken noodle soup. If it comes to that.
I mean, it like if it like he said, if it came to that, then can go 3 weeks without food and still survive.
You can also supplement your
you gotta
diet
have
with bananas.
Not saying that's pleasure, but it can be done.
Stock up on bananas.
Bananas?
Yep. Basically, if that's all you
What,
got to eat.
Well, you gotta put them
nutrition.
you gotta put them in the freezers for them to last longer, right?
Yeah, because they will go bad quick.
Because they ripe pretty quick.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I just buy canned goods and peanut butter and stuff like that. Shit that could sit around for a really long
peanut butter
time.
is good.
This way, like
Yep.
when we had our hurricane blow through, we couldn't keep anything because our power went out for 2 weeks. So we had no refrigerated goods whatsoever, and you couldn't even get ice anywhere. So everything we ate had to be shit that could sit around, like peanut butter or like some kind of canned good.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And when you're living like that for a few weeks, it's no fun, but it's easy to do if you're prepared. I always try to stay prepared for shit like that. You just never know.
Yeah, I mean, this thing, you never knew about this thing. It just literally appeared out of nowhere.
And,
then boom.
the insane hype media, they had to hype everything,
Mm-hmm.
They had to scare
Well, they've
people
always
with their
done
little
that.
fear
I mean,
tactics,
that's
And
it's their job to sell fear in their sponsors' products.
Hey, if you want some unsensationalized news, Pluto TV is an Android app, and sometimes most smart TVs have it built in. On Pluto TV, Newsmax channels available for free, and I was watching. It's been a long time since I watched. Yeah, it had been a long time since I had watched any news, so I went and found. I opened the Pluto app on my TV, and I found Newsmax, and I gotta say, they weren't sensationalizing anything. They were just giving what information they had, and they really weren't giving any opinions. They were just saying what was going on.
There's also a good YouTube channel that I actually heard about through Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers. He was on a live stream talking about it.
Yeah, I might know it. What is it?
It's called Agenda Free TV. Also does the same.
Of that one.
Yeah, it's one of the sources he was talking about. It's, it just gives you the news. It doesn't push a reason or anything. And then he also said which I also follow now, a Twitter account called BNO Newsroom. B as in boy, N as in no, O, newsroom, or at BNO desk. And that also has been giving like up to the minute, any kind of major news break, any news, it's mostly just coronavirus right now, but it's gives you all the current news releases as well. So those are a couple good extra ones if you don't have Roku or anything that you can, use.
Yeah, I got that plus free internet channels on my Samsung TV, smart TV, and plus there's a Doctor Who channel on there that I like to watch, and there was a free Doctor Who channel on the Pluto TV.
Really?
Yes, all day long, nothing but Doctor Who on Pluto TV.
The old school Doctor Who.
You know what, Bear?
Real Doctor Who.
Huh?
Yeah, there's a couple of those channels because I seen Pluto TV had it, and then there was another one that was a free TV service where you could watch Doctor Who stuff. I can't remember the other one. I do remember Pluto because my wife is huge into Doctor Who. I could care less, quite honestly.
Do you happen to remember the number of the channel? I forgot. Because I just got to flip back through it and find it, and oh, there it is.
Well, I don't have numbers. I just have mine off my Roku, so I just get the free apps for the TV shows that way.
Yeah, I liked watching Breaking the Set too. It was interesting. Yeah, I think RT gets a lot of flack for being a Russian news agency.
Yeah.
But they do have a lot of halfway decent news.
Yeah.
But basically, if you go back to your old spy movies and just think about what happened in those spy movies and stuff like that, the majority of people that work in news media around the world, they're spies. Think about it.
Well, there's only six different people that own all the major news sources in the world.
Yep.
So 6 people? Yeah.
What'd you say, Nick?
I said pretty much, yeah.
And you know who makes the majority of toilet paper in the country?
No.
The Koch brothers.
Koch brothers?
Yeah.
Who are the Koch brothers?
Think
the
Koch.
Coca-Cola?
No, think Koch. Only pronounce it Coke.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there could be some very good reasons why these shortages are happening, and that's why I've been looking at Reddit. And you seen what I just read? Their supply chains are still open. Things are still being sent. So why are there's nothing on the shelves?
Well, because people in their panic are basically waiting until the store opens in the morning and lining up before the doors open, and then they run in there and buy everything up so that they have nothing left for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that has been happening here in LA.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like old school Toys R Us, you know.
Yeah.
You used to do that shit back in the day.
Yeah.
On the day of the big sale.
Yep.
the big release or something. Yeah,
they have like a 50% off or brand new Star Wars figures or whatever.
It's just
Force
like
Friday.
Black Friday.
Yeah, Force Friday. Yeah.
It's like Black Friday, man. Black Friday, everybody loses
How much of a
their mind and
disaster
rush to
was?
stores.
How much of a disaster was Force Friday 3? And they had 3 things they were doing.
Yeah, it was terrible.
That's what happens when you don't have Toys R Us anymore.
Yeah, losing those big
Target,
toy stores.
Even Target wasn't in on that.
They weren't. They weren't either.
Well,
not the last Force Friday, no.
Well, there still are some Toys R Us. You know that, right?
They're in Canada, right?
They still have they have Toys R Us still in Canada.
Yeah.
Really, physical stores?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
It's only the US ones are closed.
There's a guy I watch. Yeah, there's a guy I watch called Michael Mercy, and he does like a lot of G.I. Joe, Transformers, and stuff like that. Big shocker that I watch something like that, right? He is from Canada, and he's gone into his local Toys R Us store quite a few times, saying, I feel sorry for my American friends that don't have this stuff. Yeah, like, hey, you're showing it off, dude. You don't feel that sorry.
Yeah.
Well, Star Wars was a big chunk of Toys R Us's business. When Star Wars went down the tubes, it affected everyone, especially since they had to buy a certain amount of exclusives in order to host Force Friday and some of the waves and stuff like that. And when the merchandise doesn't sell and it's dying on the shelves, businesses get hurt.
Well, yeah. Nick, it's funny you should mention that. I was talking to Bear before the show about that, and I was telling him how, like, these toy companies, they have to buy into the franchise. And Bear wasn't aware of that. And it's the same thing with a lot of these toy stores. They have to make a commitment, or they have to buy, like, beforehand, they have to buy so much into the franchise, especially if they want to get exclusives, especially the way Toys R Us always got exclusives. So they have to put so much money up front to get all this stuff. And when that shit don't sell, it destroys their bottom end because they've already invested so much money in it. And not only money, but freaking space on their floors and in their warehouses.
Yeah, Lysol disinfectant spray. I just looked on Walmart.com and nothing available. Out of stock.
Yeah. I know Amazon's out of everything.
But the good news is...
even just rubbing alcohol.
Did you know Lysol made laundry soap?
No,
laundry
I did not know
that. Yeah. Apparently there's plenty of that.
Huh. Wonder if you use that to clean the your
laundry
table?
Sanitizer. Basically, if like say you work in a very, very messy job where there's like say say you work in a meat house or something, you're a butcher. Yeah, you want to use this to wash your clothes with, Got blood and stuff like that from cutting beef all day. I could see that.
I
think if it cleans one thing, it would just,
Angela
be universally cleaning everything.
Absolutely, Angela. Angela Straven, absolutely. They had way too many exclusives, and that's part of the reason why most of the toy chains in America sunk.
Yep. That's why comic books are going down the tubes too.
Yeah.
Because comic books they don't make decent stories anymore, so they release like 20 variant covers for one issue. And the retailers are like, look, I can't afford all this. And nobody's buying it. Like,
but it's funny.
Even if you got a variant cover, if your story sucks, no one's gonna buy it.
Well, Nick, a lot of those shops had seen that shit coming. They've seen it coming. That's why a lot of them were moving to other things like, collectibles and cards and everything else.
Yep.
They've seen the writing on the wall years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And the ones that didn't, take proactive steps to actually, confront this head on, they're the ones that actually went under, because they were the ones that were basically nothing but comic books and comic books only, and they just went under one after another.
Yeah. Well, the comic store I used to go to in Long Beach, I know they used to have a really big space, like 2 buildings put together. Now they're just down to 1 building. But most of their sales came from nostalgia, the older stuff. You know, the old action figures, the old NECA stuff, DC, those sort of things. Not so much the newest release things. Like, if you notice, like, toy companies are banking off nostalgia because nostalgia was a better time of storytelling and character development. People want that. They want it. They want to go back. They don't like the new stuff. They want to go back and get the old stuff. You know, things they used to like, and they want their kids to understand what they used to like too. I mean, who do we are going to run out there and buy Thundercats Roar figures? I don't think so. You know.
Yeah.
I don't see any She-Ra action figures from the. Yeah, is there any She-Ra action figures out there I don't know about from the new She-Ra? Because I don't pretty sure I haven't seen any.
I don't think there. I haven't seen any in Target.
Because it's such a profound success, and everybody loves it apparently, according to the SJWs and all that. But yeah, where's the merchandise? Where's all the Star Trek Discovery merchandise at? Where's the Picard merchandise?
I used to have Next Generation toys.
Yeah, Next Gen had all sorts of stuff. In fact, they're bringing back Next Gen stuff and the old original series stuff. It's like Kirk and Spock.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I've seen
Diamond
Kirk,
Select Toys and all that.
You know why?
Yeah, well, they know what sells.
That other stuff don't sell.
That's right. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants garbage characters. Even kids don't want garbage characters. You could go. You can go in the Target and find a whole tray, a whole rack full of Rays and Jyn Ersos and Admiral Haldos and like I don't know, Poe and ancillary character number 1 and background character number 2 and Rose Tico. And there's a reason, like back in the day, everybody wants Vader, everybody wants Luke, everybody wanted Han, everyone's looking for Leia. No one cares about. I mean, I won't say no one because that's a generalized statement, but very few people care about the new characters these days.
Are you telling me that Captain Phasma isn't flying off the shelves?
I know, and the least they could have did was given her like a vacuum formed armor since she's supposed to be shiny. They'll do it for a pop figure, but they won't do it for an action figure. What's up with that? Even 3PO got that shiny vacuum formed metal.
Yeah.
Come on, Hasbro, step up your game.
Yeah.
That's just kind of comical to me.
Hasbro had a huge disagreement with Lucasfilm over those figures, and they didn't want to make any of those new figures. And Disney was pretty much throwing their weight around, telling them they had to make those figures. And Hasbro wanted to bring back the old retro lines. That's why you'd seen some of the old 1977 reimaginings of some of the old, like the X-wing and the TIE fighters and the old figures, because that was Hasbro pushing it. Where Lucasfilm was saying, no, we want the new stuff. And Hasbro said, we're going to...
Well, what are they doing now? They're retooling the original figures, and they're selling.
Well, look at the Black Series figures. I mean, there's way more of the original character Black Series than there are of the new stuff.
The thing I noticed, like, I collected some of the Disney Infinity line because they had such great like cartoon sculpts of like Han and Boba Fett and Ahsoka and all that. Great looking figures. I didn't play the video game thing, but I just like them as little statues. And what did they do? They axed that whole line to put out those crappy looking toy box figures. Not only are they expensive, but they're in a weird scale, like what, 5 inches or something?
That is weird.
And they're stiff. They've got like no real posability to them. And it just, no thanks. But that's that whole like Cal Arts exaggerated cartoony thing. SJWs. There's nothing that, when it comes to like children's entertainment or comic books, really nothing serious anymore. It's all comical and ha 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 and sarcasm and smugness. it's a bizarre thing with SJWs because they want to pretend that they're kids, right? They're older, but they want to act like kids, but yet they want to attack adults for liking kids because they automatically assume that because you like something that's for children, you're a pedophile or whatever, or you can't, jack off to it or whatever excuse you want to throw at it. So it's kind of an interesting double-edged sword because they themselves want to be kid-like, but they get upset when adults don't embrace that because they don't want to be kids. They don't want to, it's such a bizarre part of their ideology.
Well, they would look funny at somebody like me, you, Final, Bear. If we went to the toy aisle and we were looking at toys, and we decided, hey, we like this brand right here, and we like these toys, we're going to get them. And they'll come in there and they'll sit there and degrade you over it. Yet they're the same ones that sit there like a 5-year-old, hold their breath and scream until they're red in the face. Because you know what? I don't think at any point that I've walked around that I've ever done that myself. So who the hell is the kid here?
Yeah, really.
Oh, you see it on Twitter all the time. You can't reason or negotiate with an SJW because they don't want to listen. They don't care. They don't care about facts. They care about feelings. Everything's about what they feel. They embrace this whole thing about diversity except the thought. And, thought is in thinking, not thought is in, e-thoughts. But you just kind of, they have the same, obviously they have the parrot mentality and the gang up mentality and very similar behavioral patterns and stuff because when it comes to like storytelling, they don't know how to tell stories. They repurpose things that already exist and make it fit a mold that they're never meant to have been. Visually and as a developmental thing. Let's look at Star Wars. What is Star Wars now? I don't recognize it anymore. They're retconning how the Force works. They're retconning how Jedis are trained. For the longest time, they didn't even want to use the term Sith until to a corner. Then all of a sudden, they're Sith again. Kind of interesting. Oh, we have no source material for Star Wars, but yet we stole clone Palpatine from Dark Empire. It's like, come on, man, You're not slick. We know what you're doing.
It's a cheap imitation, and the first version of him coming back was controversial. Anyway,
sure,
but this is just a cheaper imitation because they didn't even have a plan. They couldn't explain it.
Yeah, they didn't have a plan. That's pretty obvious. We already know that's confirmed across the board. That's not even a rumor anymore.
Oh, no, not anymore.
Well, come on. Let's be honest. Did JJ ever have a plan? Really? Did he ever? Because when he did that Star Trek series, and he caught backlash from it because of the way he was changing the characters, changed the ships, and he did all the other shit. What did he do? What was his excuse? Oh, well, it's a different timeline. That was his excuse to try to justify what he did.
I gotta tell you,
people out talking about if they did that, which people say if he did that with Star Wars, it just said it was a different timeline, they'd be able to accept it. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, I wouldn't.
Well, the timeline, alternate universe, time travel thing, that's pretty much exclusively Star Trek when it comes to comparing Star Trek and Star Wars. The one thing Star Wars never did, and I'll still give them credit for this, aside from the weird, bizarre thing they wrote in Rebels, is Star Wars doesn't have time travel. Doesn't have alternate universes in a cinematic sense. There's comic books, with the Infinity What If line and all that, but
now with the World Between Worlds, they kind of introduced that.
Really weird kind of. I still don't quite understand how that works, but whatever.
I kind of like the story premise.
Well, I didn't think that Ahsoka died in her battle with Vader because you see her limping away in like a hallway.
Yeah,
there's nothing that says that she actually died. So
no,
going back in time to save her from dying was just unnecessary. Why don't you just say, "Hey, by the way,"
Right. Yeah, it was left very, very open. So they didn't really need to do that, but
yeah, well, it was an excuse to shoehorn in the prequel trilogy stuff to say like, hey, this is part of canon, and we're recognizing the movies here, sort of.
Although
and, we're doing something clever, and it's just like, eh.
At the same time, though, if they're able to use that at some point to, nullify the sequel trilogy and give us something else, I might be okay with that.
Well, the sad reality is that Carrie Fisher's gone. We're never going to get the Han, Leia, and Luke, and I guess Lando team up scene that we wanted. It's the only thing we asked for,
Yeah, that's true. We'll never get that with Carrie.
Never
gone.
Get the band back together.
Yeah. But, they could do like what they did with this movie and use her daughter and then just kind of CGI her face within, I'm talking down the line here in the future. If the CGI of the face continues to get better and better, what's to say they couldn't use her daughter and just CGI Leia's face over her?
Billy Lord, something
yeah,
like that.
Right. Billy Lord, yeah. Or no, Billy, Billy Lord. Yeah, I mean, they could use her.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it. I was just saying they could use her to, replace Carrie.
Well, one of my friends is Catherine Hicklin.
They look a lot alike.
Stevie on Knight Rider, and
Carrie's
she
daughter.
is married to Todd Fisher. Todd Fisher was Carrie Fisher's brother. So I talked to Todd about some things. Like there was a very different idea for Carrie, as he's mentioned, with 8 and 9, and there's certain things that the family wanted to happen and didn't want to happen. And I can tell you firsthand that Todd has no love for Kathleen Kennedy, but he does have respect for J.J. Abrams because J.J. did work out a way to not completely write Carrie out of the last movie. And I gotta say, like, just from a technical standpoint, it's very interesting how much footage they were actually able to put together with her, given the circumstances.
Yeah.
Not so much the context, but just the fact that they were able to do that. You got to give them credit for that much. We'll ignore Mary Poppins Leia,
Yeah. Oh man, I almost destroyed her character. Yeah, but what they were able to do. Not saying it was the best thing, and I don't necessarily think I would have done it this way. But with what they were able to do, with what they decided to do, I guess I should say, they did do a decent job. I mean, it looked pretty good from a visual standpoint alone. It was pretty impressive. There were scenes where, you could sort of tell the scene was kind of pigeonholed into there because it didn't really flow exactly. It wasn't perfect, but with what they decided to do and what they had, it's the best I'd seen. Tarkin,
Brie,
you have like Tarkin, which was pretty good, but this was a few years advanced now, so it was just that much better.
I think the only cringeworthy scene for me with terms of Leia was when they showed him younger, dueling on it's not the forest moon of Endor apparently, but some other Jedi planet. With the training helmet deal, that was really kind of awkward. Like Luke looked really good, but for some reason Leia just looked weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did.
I'm glad I never watched.
But that's because I think they used Billy Lord.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing when someone can take off-the-shelf software and make Leia look much better in Rogue One than Disney can with their professional software. With the deep fake software stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Interesting name for that. It's where someone can use a lifelike avatar of you, and they can imitate your voice and you look like a real human. Yeah.
Well, fortunately, we haven't gotten to the point yet. We don't need actors, you know.
Right.
I don't really want to see Elvis Presley coming back in an action movie. You know what I'm saying?
No, you'll see him coming back on a live tour.
Yeah.
See,
well, you know,
holographic live tour. That's where you'll see him.
Hey, you know, I would pay to see Michael Jackson in comp if it was like a flawless performance kind of thing. Man, I'd go see a Michael Jackson hologram. But...
My first concert I ever went to was Michael Jackson on the Bad tour. I was like 9 years old, but man, I remember that. Maybe I was 8 or 9 years old, but I remember that perfectly.
I never had a chance to meet him, but gosh, man, talk about a legacy of inspirational work. You know,
yeah,
all the accusations and stuff. I never bought into any of it, but I'm a realist. You know, I look at things as they are, not as they could potentially be, and I look at like facts and things that make sense. But one thing that most people will agree on is that he was a legend of music. You know, there will never be another Michael Jackson. Just never will.
No, yeah, there won't be.
Nope. That guy was a masterpiece with music, man.
I'm just happy that we had him because a lot of Michael Jackson music got me through some tough times, you know, and long college hours and finals and stuff, just blasting the Bad album or even like Dangerous. The one thing that like about Michael Jackson that really kind of depresses me is we didn't even get one complete concert of This Is It, you know? Like if we had just gotten one complete concert, we could have just been happy with that to see it as he intended it to be, rather than just seeing glimpses of what could have been. You know?
Yeah. I know. That's such a shame. They had the big press conference where he announces it.
What's that?
It wasn't so much Michael Jackson for me. Who actually did it for me was actually Bob Marley. Something about the way
another
Bob
guy
Marley
that died way too young.
That actually that talked to me. You know, the stuff he did.
I've seen Ziggy Marley live several times, and I've seen Ziggy with the Wailers. Ziggy and the Wailers.
He sounds just like his dad, and he looks like.
Oh my God, you're not kidding. Oh yeah, that was great. It was awesome. Good music. That was the same time I got to meet Mark Horan. He was the guitarist for Rat Dog. And the other ones.
Oh.
Bob Weir's band, Rat Dog.
Hey, I've never seen a music concert. I've been to like wrestling events and play stuff, but never like seen a concert.
Oh, you gotta get. You're in LA. You've got like the best concerts. Anyone you want to see comes through here.
Well, yeah, there's the key words. People I want to see, not pay like $800 a ticket for. What is this?
Yeah, but I mean, you do have the opportunity.
Oh, sure.
You know, they so dropped.
Look at this. This is missed opportunities in Star Wars. Since we were talking about this earlier, yeah. I mean, look at that. Like that. How great! That's what we should have seen.
Hayden Christensen. Yeah.
Yeah, the Anakin fight. I mean, this is what we should have had something like that.
Someone
not
spliced him into that.
Rey Palpatine. Yeah, that's just Photoshop.
Of course, that's Photoshop.
I mean, like, what a great idea. And then look at this. Here's what you were talking about. Well, we'll never see, right?
Yep.
Look at that. How great would that have been?
Look at Harrison Ford.
How great would that have been?
Harrison Ford looks like he's eating a log of shit.
Yeah, because he's probably sitting next to Rey in this, the actual picture instead of Lando. He's like, how am I doing here? Yeah. I mean, but that's like, wow, what we could have had.
We could have had that, kick-ass Jedi.
And Finn had such a good potential, and they wasted it. Finn should have been taken on them. And this whole scene, we never saw any of this. We just got a half-assed version of the Knights of Ren that was supposed to be. Yeah.
Remember the cartoon where the kid, someone would yell "Hoopla"?
Yeah, that's depressing. Well, we could have had.
What could have been?
What could have been? What might have been?
And then we got.
We got no explanation whatsoever of the Knights of Ren scene.
Basically, we're going to switch gears. The same thing's happening in Star Trek Picard. It happened first with Discovery, and think about it, man. It's not the men that are running things in Star Trek Picard. It's the women that are in control in Star Trek.
No, we got Admiral Sandbag always yelling and cussing at Picard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shut the fuck up, Picard. What is he? What even is that? Like, that's not even 24th century dialogue. Yeah, I was like,
they actually let her say that in the show. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, well,
that's shocking.
That's one solid piece of proof right there that SJWs are in control of that series.
I wonder if a lot of things crash and bang around the set. Gene Roddenberry's got to be pissed.
Hey, Bear.
Rolling over in his grave.
Oh.
Hey, Bear, I got one to add on to that for you. So we were talking earlier about the whole Discovery movie.
Right.
So one of the posts on there was the company is actually looking for, get this, they're looking for female writers, directors, and producers to work on the Discovery movie.
Male?
Female.
Did you say male?
All female. They want
all female. Yeah. Star Wars is trying to do the same thing.
Good luck with trying to work out that woke crap, because you know what? How about hire people on their merits, not on what they are, male or female. Hire on merit.
Oh, come on, man. You're living in the past. Stop being such a barbarian.
Hey, I had probably a few barbarian ancestors, and I got a pirate ancestor as well.
Pirate ancestor would be
that's on my dad's mom's side of the family. On the
where was
side.
Where was he or she from? It could have been a she.
England.
Who are we to judge?
England. It was an English pirate.
Oh.
I think it was. I think he might have been Viking as well. He could have been a Viking as well.
And Pirates of the Caribbean.
Basically, the saying is his name was Eric the Red. That's the rumor in the family.
Eric the Red.
Eric the Red. That's the only thing that the family knows.
Eric the Red's the famous Viking.
Yeah, he's like the man of Vikings.
Eric the Red.
Not that Eric the Red. I think there was a few different.
Eric. Yeah, but you got to remember.
I'll tell you, that's a tough name to live up to.
You got to remember. Yeah, people. But a lot of people reuse those names, man.
But
how many people were called Black something? Black Bart, right. Blackbeard.
Hey,
I just imagine kind of pressure. Bart. I wouldn't want to have to live up to that. Black Bart,
just imagine.
Think of the pressure. Like, I mean, you'd be, they'd have mutiny in a second if you couldn't live up to that name.
Just imagine everyone asking you if you're related to Ted because your last name is Nugent. Without fail.
Yeah.
No, I'm not related to Ted.
Cat scratch fever.
You got a fever?
Man,
you got a cat scratch fever?
I discovered Ted Nugent when I was 13. I discovered James Gang when I was 13.
I got to see him live too. I've seen Ted Nugent open up for. Who did he forget who he opened up for. AC/DC. I believe it was AC/DC at Madison Square Garden.
Oh wow!
I've seen the Steve Miller Band open up for the Grateful Dead twice.
That's cool. I've never seen Steve Miller.
That was pretty.
Open up for Grateful Dead. Yeah, that's a great show.
Soldier Field. I think it was 2 years in a row. I think. I saw him 2 nights. The first time he opened for him, and 2 nights the second time. And oh, by the way, that Soldier Field Coliseum doesn't exist no more. They tore it down and built a new one, which is sad because that was the last place that Jerry Garcia played alive.
Oh wow, that was the last concert he played.
It was the last Grateful Dead concert that he played.
Oh wow!
And let me tell you, man, some messages are being sent big time, man. Ooh, things that make the hair stick up in the back of your neck and all that stuff, you know.
What, at the concert?
Everything in Grateful Dead music is subliminal, and when things are kind of going a little weird and wonky out in the crowd, the boys, they weren't really too big on being authoritarians, but they were real big on giving warnings, you know, to the crowd to chill out, and they would do it in a subliminal kind of way. And so they had been telling them telling basically fans, it's like, we are going to pull the rug out, and we're going to put a stop to some of this stuff, and they did. They stopped camping. Used to be able to camp at a Grateful Dead concert overnight, and so problems kept happening out in the parking lot, and those problems became more problems, and so basically the boys in Grateful Dead were pressured by the cities they were playing in to end camping overnight at the events. And so basically what it was is there was a lot of what was happening is a lot of outsiders were also coming to the events, partying, getting drunk, being belligerent, and you know, with all things big parties and all that, it tracks problems. I was literally my very first Grateful Dead concert. I had been to one Jerry Garcia band concert that spring or fall actually. That summer I went to Tinley Park World Music Theater, and I was in the lawn seating. We weren't too far from the back fence. We were in the center, and they opened with Touch of Grey, and as soon as they hit the first 3 words, a waterfall of people came over the back fence.
They broke into the place?
Yes. It was insanity, man. Pure insanity. There were so many people there. The cops just
did they try to kick people out, or
nope.
I mean, yeah,
nope.
It was many people.
It was a free for all, man. Let me tell you, the boys in the band were really pissed off because basically what happened is they rebuilt the backside of that because you know it's outdoor Tinley Park Music Theater, you know, open to the air. It's got a band shell covering the band, but the lawn seating is just it's all open. And they did not have the fence in back was only 15 feet tall. And let me tell you, man, a bunch of crazy ass hippies came pouring over that fence. It literally looked like a waterfall of people. And I'm talking the whole back of that fence, all the way down that way to the right and all the way to the down. Masses amounts of people. There was at least 20,000 people that poured over that fence, and they rushed it. And
wait, how big was the venue? Without those, you know, how many does it typically hold?
Hold on. All right. Basically, in July 1990, 60,000 Deadheads were there. That's how many people were there. 60,000.
Wow, that's huge.
Yes.
60,000.
60,000. And I don't think that number was very accurate. I think there was actually more. The tollway, the 8090 tollway, was jammed, and basically hippies pulled off on the side of the road, crossed the fence into Tinley Park because the tollway went right by the backside of the parking lots that went to Tinley Park.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know what? Believe it or not, the Tinley Park police were actually pretty kind to all the heads. Because there were certain areas where a lot of us stayed in park and slept in, microbuses, vans, camper vans, and they just were real polite and they just came by, just checking on you, seeing how you doing all that, letting you know that we got your back, we're watching you, and no one's gonna mess with you and all that, and then they left. And I was really surprised after 20,000 people poured over the back fence.
Yeah.
Blew my
think
mind.
Maybe just arresting people left and right as quick as they could.
No, they were completely overwhelmed. When we showed up there, basically what happened was those ushers didn't know how to park us. We knew how to park ourselves because people have been following the Grateful Dead for years. And so neat rows parked and everything. And those ushers, what they wanted to do, they wanted to make us park bumper to bumper. And we told them, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do it the way we know it. And everybody, all the rows were perfect. And they were helpless. They were brand new. It was Grateful Dead. There was the second concert because the night before Aerosmith played there. And when we arrived there, the parking lot was trashed. There was whiskey bottles, glass, beer bottles everywhere. And when we left, it was clean.
Wow.
That's back when heads were a little bit more responsible. Now it's not so much. But yeah, that's a lot of freaking people, man. I think there was more closer to 90,000 people that was there.
Damn,
wow, that's insane to think about that kind of number to try to control that kind of crowd.
And basically between 30 and 35,000 is what the venue held. And they're saying 60,000 showed up. I'm positive it's more than 60,000 because man, it was just insane. It was so insane. It was crazy. I'd never seen so many people in my life before. It was just off the hook, off the rails, man. But it was a good time. It was fun, Had a lot of fun.
Good times, noodle salad.
Yeah. Hey, fun times,
Oh, yeah.
You only live once, they say. So I dived in when I was a teenager in my early 20s, traveling around the country, seeing this and seeing that, and seeing things that would blow most people's minds clear out, Fun times.
Ya.
Fun times.
Well, if you didn't know, I was on Doomcock's Friday Night Frolics last week, talking some Knight Rider and Glenn Larson stuff.
Oh, yeah, were we? Nice.
So that was fun.
Tell us about that.
Wow, that's cool. That's very cool.
Well, I wrote a book on Knight Rider, as most people know. That KR stands for Knight Rider, and companion. It's a Knight Rider companion. So there you go. And so I went on. I think I was like his last guest, and we just kind of talked a little bit about Glenn and Knight Rider stuff, and how I met Glenn and got involved with the movie plans he was working on. And he plugged my Phantom Menace shirts, which was real nice. And I just shot the shit for a while.
What's up, Larry?
I love Doomcock, though. He's so entertaining.
Hail Doomcock.
And the thing I really like about Doomcock that I don't see from a lot of other YouTubers is that, I should say from a lot of other YouTubers, is that Doomcock will give people his attention regardless of whether or not they send super chats. Like, he balances between the super chats and people talking in the chat room. and he genuinely appreciates everybody's support. You know, like he's such a great guy. I really really admire his creativity.
There are a few of the guys that do that, and it is really cool when they do that. You know what I mean? That they give the attention that people.
Well, you know, the whole thing like of interacting with your audience, especially when it came to television. Some shows were doing it, but it's actually the Goldbergs who kind of put it on the map with like live tweeting during their episode when it was airing on TV. Like Wendy and Haley and Sean would respond to people's questions while the episode was on the air, and people would be like posting quotes, and Wendy would retweet them and answer questions. It's really like there's something really cool about the spontaneous interaction of things, you know. Like I love live chats because you can spontaneously interact with people who are on the channel if they respond that way. Like when Ethan Van Sciver has a live chat and he's talking about Cyberfrog or Comicsgate or whatever, you know, you can spontaneously interact with Ethan and Ethan will comment back, even if you're like insulting him or whatever. It's just, it gives it another dimension of realism and fun. You know, it's not just a radio show where you're a guy at a microphone and you're just going back and forth with a narrator or a host or something like that, or like a moderated panel. You know, you're actually interacting with people in the audience, in this case in the chat room, and other guests on the panel or whatever. I like that because I sort of have a little bit of a social anxiety issue. Like I'm not really comfortable going out in like big groups of people, you know. I talk to people I know when I get to know them better, but especially like in this day and age, you have to be careful what you say, especially like on a record if you're being recorded. You know what I mean? Because it can come back and bite you later. Unless you're like Jeremy, who doesn't care.
Well, I think that's the problem. Well, Nick, I think that's a problem with there's a lot of YouTubers, and I've actually heard this come right out of the mouths of other YouTubers, where they talk about they don't feel like they have to interact with a live audience in their chat or anything like that. And it's got to be the stupidest shit that I've ever heard in my life. Because what is the point of doing a live stream where your audience can interact with you if you're not going to interact with them?
Exactly, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hypocritical. It's hypocritical. And it's actually pointless to even bother doing a live chat, because all you want to do is talk to yourself pretty much. Then you might as well just put out regular videos, or you might as well just air like regular, non-live shows if you're not going to interact. Because that's
I agree 100%. Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole genius of YouTube, is that you have that instant connection or, instant reaction. That's the difference between YouTube and regular TV. Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's next level too, because this whole like spontaneous interaction thing started with chat rooms, like Yahoo chat rooms, AOL chat rooms, that kind of thing. That's kind of where that social gathering of people kind of started. And it's amazing like how far communication, especially across like continents and all that, has come thanks to the internet and platforms like YouTube and StreamYards and video conferencing and things like that. It's so amazing. Especially like sometimes I'll watch Doomcock stream and I'll be on my laptop, making comments in the chat room, but I'm watching him talking on my television, because I run it on my PlayStation. Another great thing, PlayStation, we run apps, right? So we can like watch YouTube on our PlayStation and not have to be stuck at the computer. But just to like have that spontaneous interaction, I think that there's a certain kind of magic with that, and that's definitely like the next evolution of human communication. I mean, there's positives and negatives with everything, but generally, if you're a bunch of cool people like us, just chatting about whatever, it's such a great opportunity to get to know people.
Whoa! Don't call me people. I'm a guinea pig.
Personalities. Okay, specious.
Yeah, April 19th is my 1 year since I've been uploading videos.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Congrats.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And I got 1 year, and I'm at 245 subscribers. It's not too bad. I can dig it.
Hey,
Yeah, are you gonna do a stream?
Yeah, believe so. The 19th lands I want to say the day after or day before the First Wave Saturday show. Let's see. April 19th. Yeah, the day after the Fourth Wave show.
Cool.
On a Sunday.
Good time to have a celebration stream.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey,
Let's
Nick.
hope all.
Yeah.
I wanted to add on something you said earlier. When you were talking about the YouTubers that didn't want to interact with the chat, and then some of them do, and I've heard this come out of quite a few people's mouths. They talk about they're not trying to just build a channel; they're actually trying to build a community around them with the people that they're interacting with. And I think that's what a lot of these YouTubers are missing, is they're not looking at the people in the chat that they're interacting with as part of a community that they're trying to build. They're just looking at them as numbers that are filling up the slots on their videos and their live streams.
Yeah, or super chats that come in. But that's another thing, right? That's a component. If your audience likes you, they're going to send super chats. You're going to make money. If money is your goal, it's counterproductive to say, well, chat doesn't matter. I'm just going to sit here and talk, and I don't care what people think or whatever.
Well, if people are giving you money for whatever you're doing, I mean, clearly that's going to tell you, that it's working.
Yeah.
Watching
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I hear you. I hear you, Draven. Yeah, it's always good to check out the chat when you can. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. Like speaking for myself, I'm working off a mobile device because I'm piss poor broke, and I can't really afford to get all the fancy bells and whistles from my ancient computer. But I tried it myself. I always try if I'm on a stream. I always try to check the chat and interact with people if I can.
Yeah, same here. Well, I got a laptop that at one time was probably sold for about $1,200 to $1,600. I paid 3 bills for it and about maybe $100 for shipping. And part of that $100 for that shipping was the insurance to insure the shipping, so it was worth that. And there wasn't too much wrong with it. I got it fixed up, got it running, got it working. And I gotta say, it's a damn good little laptop. I gotta say, MSI gaming laptop. Can't beat it. But my phone has an 8-core processor in it, so it processes. It took literally my phone. A 4K video that was 6 minutes long, it took a little over 12 minutes to render it.
Yeah, that's a good time.
And my laptop, shit, that would have took probably hours on my laptop. My laptop's fast and all that, but it doesn't have 8 cores.
Well, that's the thing. Phones are basically mini computers.
Mm-hmm. And it's hella fast.
And they're priced accordingly.
Well,
if they're a good phone.
My phone retailed originally for like $850 that I have, but I got it on sale for $6 something.
12 minutes rendering. Man, I couldn't get a freaking video uploaded to my computer from my film editor in under a half hour.
Oh yeah.
And then forget about getting it on YouTube. That took me another 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's this phone is like wicked fast.
Well, Draven, did you hear they're trying to reboot the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers live-action movie?
I thought I heard something about that.
I don't know if they're recasting all the, if it's like a complete like reboot from scratch, or if it's going to be like a soft reboot sequel.
Didn't they just do that though? Didn't they just make a reboot of that movie a few years ago, 2 years ago or so?
TV show.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's the one with Bryan Cranston as Zordon.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So
I read something
reboot
about they want Millie Brown to be the Black Ranger, which is, Black Ranger was a dude, but okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Like it's like, all right, I'm gonna do a parable, a comparison, have you will. I remember when I was a kid that and one of these things, when I was a kid, there was always these girls that wanted to join in and do stuff with us when we were doing stuff. And a lot of times, sometimes our parents would make us let them
Make you
get involved.
meet up with them?
Like whatever games we were playing, stuff like that. And there was other times when, it was the boys' club. You know what I'm saying? No girls allowed. And I think there's resentment over that. And I think we're seeing years and years of resentment being exposed because boys just want to be boys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's in our nature.
Yeah. And so I think there's a lot of resentment in that way going on. From people that grew up that way where, when boys were just being boys, they wanted to do their own things, They didn't want to play with dolls and stuff like that, and,
Well, it was that.
Go ahead.
It was that same mentality that actually wound up leading to the destruction of the He-Man line, because it wasn't until they introduced She-Ra, Princess of Power.
Yeah, She-Ra.
And boys no longer
That's right.
had they no longer had He-Man all to themselves. All of a sudden, the sales went whoop, and they dived off a cliff, and that whole franchise got smoked. All because they wanted to do that inclusivity type thing back then.
They have been trying to make a He-Man movie forever. Another one.
I liked the Dolph Lundgren He-Man movie. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, well, for what it was,
I mean, it wasn't like
guilty pleasure.
It didn't follow the cartoon, but yeah, I mean, he was perfect role for He-Man, and I thought Frank Langella was good as Skeletor, though it wasn't like the Skeletor.
Oh, he was great. Yeah,
he was great. It didn't follow the story you were expecting it to follow. I mean, they spent only 20 minutes total in that movie in Eternity, and the rest of it was in like New York or wherever they were.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, well, I mean, the cartoon didn't follow the original concept of He-Man to begin with either.
No, I know that's
the old toys that came with those mini comic books that explained everything, and that story, those original comic books, was nothing like that cartoon.
Right? Yeah, but
they had to dumb it down for audiences because they still had they were still just getting over that whole where you can't really advertise toys on TV, so you had to have messages in it. That's why at the end of every He-Man cartoon, they had some kind of positive message in it to say, okay, look, this is not just an advertisement; it's got a positive message in it.
Well, same thing with G.I. Joe.
Yeah, G.I. Joe. Yep. But what made it to the mainstream, like what made He-Man was the cartoon. That's what impacted society the most. Was the cartoon. So you associate He-Man with the cartoon.
It was the male power fantasy, definitely. Big muscles, action hero kind of thing.
I mean, they
carried that on with the movie because it's Dolph Lundgren, big muscular dude.
Yeah, I think they were. If I remember correctly, they were basically trying to come up with a comic version of like a new telling of Conan, and they somehow came along to He-Man. But that was it was supposed to be like a Conan type character.
Well, actually, when they first developed those toys, they wanted to do a Conan line.
And weren't they like Conan prototypes?
Yeah, it was.
Yes,
oh,
they
for
were.
the
Like
toys?
the original He-Man figure looked very much like Conan, very much like him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was all based on Conan.
So have you guys heard of the Qualcomm Snapdragon 835?
No.
That's the processor type that I have. And I have 2 clock speeds. I have 2 quad cores. One of the quad cores is 2.35 gigahertz, and the other quad core is 1.9 gigahertz. And in total, it's an 8 core. It's an octa core, and it's got an Adreno 540 GPU. So that's why it's freaking lightning fast. Because when I started, remember when my fan went out on my laptop?
Oh yeah, took you
I was
forever to get a new one.
forced, and it was a blessing in disguise. I was forced to render videos on my phone, and so I just pulled a clip of my intro and my outro from one of my existing videos, and I'm like, oh, that'll work. And I used one of my star backgrounds on Power Director Mobile, and I made a video on it, and I couldn't believe how fast I 13-minute 720p video rendered in 5 minutes. I was just like, wow. And then I uploaded the video with using Chrome browser in desktop mode and using the classic upload mode, and it took, I swear to God, it took 2 minutes to upload. Done. That day when I discovered that, I put 5 videos out in like 3 days or so, like that. I was up insane crazy hours, and then I got some sleep, and then I did it again. I did that like 3 times, and then I was burnt out, and I had to take a break. But I was just like blown away that I discovered that I made my first 4K video was the Briones actress about the patriarchy warning and all that sticker, and I couldn't believe how fast. And so pretty much I render my videos on my phone now and upload from my phone because it's faster than my laptop. And so basically I just every now and then when I want to create a new particle, basically I use my laptop to create new particles. And the majority of my the thumbnails that I make, they're I use my phone. Use a touch pen, and it's like a thumbnail will take me about, if I'm really into it, it'll probably take me about 6 hours to make a thumbnail with all the details and all the stuff setting it up, because a lot of the fourth wave, that's a separate image. Do this. Give you an example. The winning, that was a separate image. All these logos, I created new logos. They look like neon. Here, let me fix the shimmer. So basically, the late edition, the Phantom Menace, that is a separate image. Fourth Wave, that's a separate image. Author Stephen Walton, I turned his logo into, it's basically neon. It's supposed to look like neon lights.
These are filters, right?
Yeah, it's a filter in Power Director, and
yeah, Photoshop has something similar.
And I discovered it. I'm like, wow, that looks really freaking cool. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I can do screen grabs of that. And so that's what I did. I would load existing images, existing thumbnails, and completely change it, and then modify it, change it, add this, and voila, brand new thumbnail. And you see the frame? This was a frame that I had made, and I put over the image. That's the image too. And so, and the Star Trek emblems, those were black and white drawings. That's all they were, and I messed with shading, I messed with color, I messed with gamma. I went into advanced color And I messed with that until I got different colors. I got blue, I got brass, I got copper, and I got golds. And I created the Star Wars logo the same way. It was a black and white drawing. And the Doctor Who thing, I just snapped that off the internet, and I totally changed the color and the gamma and all that to make it pop. And I used a lasso figure to remove everything except for the letters of the Doctor Who. And so this took me about total process probably like 6 hours. From recreating the logos to making the thumbnail. Quite detailed.
Cool.
But a lot of my thumbnails take just a lot of time in them. A lot of time. Because a lot of times...
Yeah, graphics take a lot of time. That's for sure.
Sometimes the most important thing is a good thumbnail, for a video.
Sure.
Because people look at the thumbnails like, oh, I'll check that out. And, I've always been artistic. My logo, I drew that. I have the hand drawings still. I'm going to eventually get them framed. Because I have the original drawings that I had drawn. Because the Bear Nerd Fun. Basically, it was only one drawing of Bear on one piece of art paper. And the Nerd Fun was another separate drawing. And I just took photographs of them and I entered them into my photograph program. And manipulated them and created more. And then basically it's hand-drawn art that I manipulated. With oil pastels.
Yeah, I hear you, Angela Straven. Yeah, everything costs extra money to be able to use it anymore.
And basically, I think that I can do... It looks almost as good as Photoshop, and it's not as hard to use.
You find Photoshop hard to use?
Photoshop's really complicated. I've used it before. You have to learn how to use it. It's a complicated program. It's not easy.
Well, the thing about Photoshop is that there are several ways to do one thing. And you got to kind of figure out what best works for you. I mean, I've used it since high school, so I understand like learning curve. But as they've updated the program over the years, the thing that you learn is that, like with any talent, any skill, the more practice you have, the better at it you get.
Right.
Also, they have a lot of good training programs with, like within Photoshop itself. They have training videos within Photoshop that really teach you pretty much all the major, like, basic things you need to know.
Yeah, well, and then we've got tons and tons of tutorials on YouTube from various Photoshop artists and masters. It's like anything with technology, it just takes patience. And the more you practice, the better and quicker you get at it. The thing I hate about Photoshop is that I bought it straight up, legit, full license, several times over, every time they updated the software. And I can't use those old programs anymore. Because even though I have the physical disk and I have the serial numbers, they killed all the activation servers. So you can't reinstall Photoshop on your computer. You can't reinstall an older copy of Photoshop. It won't validate. Which is just maddening.
They moved everything to the Creative Cloud, which is what I have.
Subscription service.
Subscription service, yeah.
Yeah, that's how they get
Draven knows what I'm talking about. I had the whole works, man. Sound booth, InDesign, Flash when they had it. I use primarily Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, and then After Effects for motion stuff. And those are my three go-to programs for Adobe. guess I could.
Well,
put
I
a
know
link in
the film editor that I got. It was just a straight up pay to get the damn thing, and the film, it's Filmora 9, and it actually I really have hardly any problems using it, and it actually comes with a whole lot that actually allows me to do a lot of different things, like from putting all kinds of overlays on my videos to creating like little intros and shit like that. It actually has quite a bit available in it, and I mean, it was like I still had a little bit of money at the time. It was $50 for the damn thing, but yeah, I can use that as much as I want. I don't have to worry about paying any extra fees for it. So
yeah,
it's one of those few programs that I found out there that was actually pretty decent for the money that I paid for it. So.
Yeah, I bought Platinum Studio, Movie Studio, something to make like slideshows and whatnot, because After Effects is great for like title graphics and motion graphics sequences and things like that, but when it comes to like editing things together and timing it to music and all that, Movie Studio is not only way cheaper, it's like $90 off the shelf, but much more flexible. If you want to see some of my motion graphics and stuff, you can go to my website at enterendesign.com, or you can find my channel on YouTube. It's called Victor Cross, because I don't really have a channel per se. It's more just like a digital archive. I just use it as a digital archive. But yeah.
Let's take a look at this here.
Let's see, I'll give you a link to.
I like that.
Channel. How do I?
That's pretty cool. Is this one of your images?
Which one? Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
That's a fantasy series I'm doing. It's a fantasy book series.
What's her name? Jen
Zeridian.
Zeridian.
I like the lavender colored eyes.
Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jen Zeridian. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I used to write a lot of Star Wars fan fiction for a while because I did roleplay in chat rooms. I don't know if you're familiar with like how roleplay worked in like Yahoo chat rooms, but that was all the rage when the prequels came out. And then Yahoo killed all the chat rooms because of the pedophiles and whatnot. I'm pretty good at writing stories.
They got rid of all their chat rooms?
Yeah, they did. They're all gone.
They used to have a dating chat room.
Used to have Yahoo Messenger for a long time.
I remember Yahoo Messenger, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all like my concept art for my fantasy books.
Yeah, good times.
That's Mordric. He's immortal, and he's based off of like Jason Isaacs from Harry Potter. Kind of the inspiration for him. But I did a lot of like Star Wars roleplay and stuff, and developed like backstories for my Star Wars characters. Like Jen Zeridian, she was originally in a Star Wars world. So is Valeric Versailles, or just Val. But I decided that no matter how good my writing was or how well it was received from friends and fans, I could never publish it, because George Lucas at the time owned Star Wars. So I wasn't going to be like hired to write any novels because they'd all be like canon characters. So I took all of my ideas and I transplanted them into my own world, which I call Imara. And Imara is the sister planet to Earth. It basically exists on the opposite side of the sun, and it's surrounded by dark matter, so we don't see it. If a satellite goes around the sun, we don't see it there because all we see is a blanket of stars. So we just kind of assume there's nothing there. And Earth and Imara share a history together, and these characters, it's like a medieval feudalist society. So basically, when Imara started out, they were like sci-fi, Krypton, high technology, and then something happened where all the technology got destroyed. and inactive, so they had to rebuild themselves. And a bunch of Knights Templar from our planet ended up in a portal on Imara, and they pretty much are seen as like gods, like how we would view aliens and whatnot. And so they kind of retaught the Amarian culture how to rebuild their technology with this kind of medieval, castles and crossbows and swords and feudalist rule and that sort of thing, monarchies. And so, but it's a twist on the whole idea of aliens. Like aliens is like, oh, well, they're going to come to our planet to invade us with spaceships and all that. But they're technically aliens, but they look just like us because Imara and Earth, they're sister planets and they share each other's traits. But they do have certain advantages we don't have. And there's a lot of like parallels with Star Wars because they've got the light and the dark. But unlike the Force, there's limits. Like if you overexert yourself, you can die or put yourself into a coma. So you need extensive training to use these powers. And they manifest differently. Like the light is like shields and defensive things, and different forms of light, like lasers and shields and things like that. And then the dark is all like corrupted and evil. It's a corrupted form of the light, and it's like red, signified with red energy. So it has like thorns and manipulating people's minds and creating fire. Basically anything to manipulate and torture and hurt people. So Jen here she's a sword master for the Shadow Guild. That's what the symbol is behind her. And she's my character Val's love interest. But she's not your damsel in distress type, princess figure. She's a badass. And so anyway, I want her to be unique because she's an alien. That's why she's got purple hair and purple eyes. Like we don't have that on Earth. That kind of tells you right there that she's different. But she has the ability to trance males, to hypnotize males with her eyes and make them lower their guard and stuff. It doesn't work on women, but it works on men. That's just the way her powers work. So she's quite powerful in battle, especially against men. But she's a tough cookie, and that's kind of the feeling I want you to get from her.
Pretty awesome story.
That's all like really very broad strokes, but that's something I've been developing it for 10 years as a franchise. So you can imagine there's a lot of mythology and stuff built into it. But it's like my thought was, what happens when Hollywood runs out of ideas, right? They're going to want something new and fresh. Like there's nothing that's totally original, but there's ways you can approach something with a unique perspective, and I think I have something really special. And but as my friend Tom DeSanto, who wrote Transformers, the Transformers Michael Bay movie, said to me, you can't sell it if you don't write it. So that's been the struggle, is to sit down and write this stuff.
It's true.
This is all I was doing before I got involved with Knight Rider for 12 years. So I'm kind of like coming around full circle back to it. Yep. But there's like concept art and stuff. Yeah. Well, that's where the power is as an artist. See, you don't want to work for a studio because the studio owns everything you do, like Disney or Warner Brothers or Universal. You want to own the IP. You want to create the IP. That's why Game of Thrones and Harry Potter and these other properties are so prosperous for the creators because they retained all the creative rights. They optioned out the films and stuff, but that's how you do it. You got to come up with an original concept and then have Hollywood come to you instead of you trying to chase down Hollywood. So that's sort of my goal, is to build an audience with my books, publish a book, because Hollywood, they don't want anything they don't really take risk on original ideas and what they call risky concepts. They want to do things that already have a built-in following. That's why you see so many remakes and sequels and movies based on books. Because they already have an audience built in, so they know they've already got an audience for whatever picture they're putting together. Now, whether or not it translates well to the screen is a whole other thing, but you look at the Hunger Games, you look at Twilight. As bad as the books are, they were bestsellers. 50 Shades of Grey, they made movies.
Yeah, you know what's ironic about that? What's ironic about that is that a lot of the franchises that they're trying to, make again or keep continuing because they have such a big following, a lot of those were started in the 80s because of an original movie. Terminator.
Yep.
There's so many we could name that started. Star Wars, God, Star Trek. They started before just the 80s.
Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, there's so many that started because of an original idea. Putting the book like the Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings, putting that aside, there's so many just movie franchises that started because of an original idea. Because studios used to take a freaking chance, and that built what these franchises were. That now, because they don't want to take a chance on building something, they revert back to like, well, let's just do this because there is a fan base. But they forget like the reason it has a fan base was because it was an original idea back then.
You know that Battlestar Galactica actually predates Star Wars?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it was originally called Adam's Ark. As you guys know, well, you may not know, but one of my best friends was Glenn Larson, who created Knight Rider and Battlestar Galactica, The Fall Guy, and a bunch of other things. So I got to have some chats with him and get kind of a unique perspective on where he came up with his ideas. And of course, Battlestar Galactica is very much based on Egyptian mythology and kind of Mormon beliefs. But such a great series. It's so different from other things out there. Even like some people go, oh, it's too much like Star Trek. No, but is it really?
Star Trek.
It's not.
Yeah.
It had its own thing going, and it had such a rich mythology to it. And in my opinion, like I know people will there's people out there disagree with me. Just my opinion. I'll take the classic Battlestar over the sci-fi Ronald Moore series any day.
The classic Battlestar over the what?
Over the Ronald Moore sci-fi series. I think that they both had their own tones, but I just kind of found the Ronald Moore thing very depressing and repetitive with the whole everyone's a Cylon thing. Sometimes you just want entertainment where it cheers you up. It's uplifting, It's got a nice balance between action, humor, and heart.
Yeah.
Not just everybody's angsty and upset and irritated all the time. Hell, smile once in a while.
How do you feel about them possibly either continuing or rebooting that series? Because there's been rumors about that.
Here's the funny thing about that. When Glenn was alive, we couldn't talk a lot about Battlestar because he was in a lawsuit with Universal over it.
Oh.
But one of the things he asked me to do... Say that again?
We lost Tommy.
Tommy, you still there? Oh, he'll be back.
Back.
He'll be back. So Glenn... here's the thing you got to understand about television rights and movie rights. Universal has all the television rights to Battlestar and Knight Rider. Okay? When Glenn created Knight Rider and Battlestar and Fall Guy for Universal and Fox, he retained all the motion picture rights, which means, I should say more specifically, feature film rights. So Universal can't make a Battlestar Galactica feature film without his approval, especially based on the old Battlestar. That's why you never saw a new Battlestar movie in the theaters. That's why you never saw Knight Rider in the theaters. Because those were Glenn's rights.
Made for DVD movies instead of theater movies.
Yeah, made for television movies. Yeah, 2-hour television pilots.
So who reserves the rights to his estate now?
Well, that's the point I'm getting at. His third wife basically sold off the rights to Knight Rider outright to the Weinstein Company. So Universal can't make a Knight Rider movie unless they get the rights from the Weinstein Company. And neither can David Hasselhoff, by the way. I love David's passion, but as it stands right now, there's not going to be a Knight Rider movie anytime soon. But the point I was trying to get to was when Glenn was alive, he was working on the Battlestar motion picture script idea, and he came up with like a crematorium type planet where dead bodies were jettisoned and some other stuff. And one of the things he asked me to do that I thought was interesting was come up with a script cover for his script, because I did one for Knight Rider. You can find that on my website and stuff. I don't have the ability to picture share, or I would, but I don't have Chrome on here. I have Firefox.
Oh, Firefox does not like you, Yard.
Yeah. So
they don't play well together.
But if you go on my website, you'll find that stuff, or send me a Facebook request and I'll prove it. You can check out my photo archives and picture stuff. So I came up with a slight redesign of the Battlestar Galactica logo and a very kind of shade in the dark Cylon figure. And with Knight Rider, I just had a scanner in the dark. It's like, because we didn't have a design lockdown, you know. But here's the interesting thing. Here's the interesting fact for you guys, if you're a Battlestar fan. Glenn met with Tom DeSanto, who I mentioned earlier, who wrote the original script for Transformers, the live-action movie. And him and Glenn were discussing how to incorporate the TV series that Bryan Singer and Tom DeSanto were supposed to do for Fox before 9/11 happened. I don't know if you're aware of that, but Bryan Singer and Tom DeSanto were doing a Battlestar Galactica based on Glenn's stuff before the tragedy happened. And when that happened, because the casting crew and casting all that couldn't travel internationally, all of that fell apart. And then later on, Ronald Moore came in and did his thing.
Wow, I did not know that.
Wow.
Yeah, so a long way to get to the meat of things, but that's kind of the progression of events. So when you're asking about Battlestar now, I have to assume that Universal must now have the television, the movie rights, and I hope they do it based on the original Galactica, because it's more cinematic to me. But we'll see what happens. You know, I know that Glenn was not a very big fan of the reboot. That he didn't really like Ronald Moore in general. I think Ronald Moore came out of Star Trek.
Oh, so a lot of that influence. Although I don't see a lot, because I think it does stand alone. But I guess the influence people do compare it to, that probably came from him, not the original series so much. But
well, the funny thing about it is that towards the end, they made was it Iron and Blood, and they brought in the original Cylons, the original Silver Toaster Cylons. I mean, they had a little bit of an update, but you could tell what they were doing with it. The funny thing about Galactica, also, the new Galactica with Ronald Moore. I say Ronald Moore because it's his version, it's his vision, even though Glenn created Galactica. In Glenn's mind, there was kind of like a distinction between his world and Ronald's world. And I'm talking about like the one with Katie Sackhoff as Starbuck and Edward James Olmos and all of that stuff. And Tricia Heffler is, was it 6? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. I watched it for the first season and a half, and then I kind of lost interest. But it's been a while. But old brain, trying to recall old things. But what was I getting at? The toaster thing. Had something else. It'll come back to me. But wow, what was it? I'm trying to
something to do with the Centurions.
Well, I brought that point up. Okay, yeah, thank you. Glenn disliked the new Battlestar so much that he used a pseudonym. A pseudonym. He didn't use his real name in the pilot. He was credited as Christopher Eric something, or something to that effect, which was the name of his kids. because he didn't want to show. But see, legally speaking, Glenn had to be credited on everything that he created for Universal. That's just a given. And whether it's Knight Rider, Battlestar Galactica, Fall Guy, or any of those things. But he had the right to use a pseudonym if he so chose. And if you watch the early episodes of Galactica, you'll see that name come up there, and you'll be like, "Who's that guy?" You know. But then, as the series progressed, and he was getting paid as an executive producer or whatever, you'll eventually see his name pop up there again. But that's it's just interesting, fascinating stuff. I think it's maybe I'll look it up. I'll tell you what it is in a second. Gotta love the magic of IMDb, right?
Oh yeah, it's a go-to.
So what folder is that picture you're talking about in? The one you made?
Which one?
Battlestar Galactica emblem.
Oh, the script cover?
Yeah.
I think I can post a link in the chat, right? I could just link to it.
Well, I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the folders, Facebook.
Well, I'm not sure. Oh, Facebook. Go to the Knight Rider Companion fan page. You just do it along with you. That way I can navigate you to where you gotta go.
All right.
Okay. You see where it says notes?
Home, about me, resume, video.
Knight Rider Companion.
Is that different from your designs?
Oh, you went to Enter on Design?
Yeah, I was there and I was on Facebook. All right.
Yeah. Let me help you get there. I'll just post a link. Just type in Knight Rider Companion, and you'll find my fan page. I know it's a long way to get there, but just trust me. My speed's a bit low. It's just easier if I link the image, I think. Well, come on, Facebook. Okay, here we go. Notes. I didn't mean to kill the conversation here, guys. Find it here. I think it's in here.
Oh, there we go.
Alright, let me make sure it's here. Okay, yeah, here it is. Alright, so click...
Knight Rider Companion. There we go.
Yeah. Now click the notes. Should be a little thing that says notes. See if I can just link this in the chat.
There we go. It's being wonky. Now, let's see. Do notes.
Okay. You're going to want to find part 1. Glenn A. Larson, Knight Rider, The Untold Story, part 1.
Part 1 with an I?
Yeah, part 1. Roman numeral 1.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, okay.
I like the search feature of a browser.
yeah, definitely. It helps.
Yeah.
If you scroll down past the picture of me and Glenn together, and the book and stuff, and the DVD, it should be just after Glenn's video. You'll see it right there, about halfway down the page. You can screen share it if you want. I don't care.
Okay. Knight Rider RD46. That image?
Where did you see RD46? It should be a Knight Rider script cover next to a Battlestar Galactica script cover. It says, number 2, what can you tell us about the script cover? How'd you come up with the design? It's right there.
see Battlestar Galactica. I just see Knight Rider cover and then a script next to it.
Oh no, you got to scroll down. Scroll all the way down.
I am all the way down.
Oh, you're at the bottom. All right, hold on. Let's see where you're at. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, scroll back up. You passed it. That's what happened. It is right before the picture of Kit driving towards the camera. From the opening title, it's purple. There you go.
All right, yeah. My Jinkies, I think, will show that.
Sure.
That looks
pretty
cool. That is cool. That is neat. That is neat. That's a signature, isn't it? You know, the thing going back and forth.
Oh yeah, the Cylon Eye.
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, he said, I like what you did with Kit. Now deal with the Cylon. Like, okay. So, but it had to be purposely vague because there was no like locked designs or anything.
Right.
But recognizable enough that when people saw it, they'd understand what it is. That's why you get like the brim of the mask and like just part of the mouth.
It's enough to give you the definitely silent staring at you from the shadows.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ominous.
Well, if you scroll up a little bit, you see that picture of Glenn where it says creator of Knight Rider.
Yeah.
In that video clip, which you can find on YouTube on my channel, or you can just type in Glenn Larson Knight Rider, he actually shows an earlier version of that Knight Rider script cover in the video, because I actually was the one who was holding up cue cards for him while he was recording, and wrote some of the dialogue that he mentions. But that's when he told the fans see, this is important because this was Glenn Larson's first public message in like 20-something years since Knight Rider went off the air, where he confirmed that he was working on a Knight Rider motion picture at the time. So in the Knight Rider world, this was pretty much my introduction to say, like, look, I really know Glenn. I'm not full of crap to the Knight Rider fans and fanboards, because they're like, oh, this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I was using an alias at the time called Victor Cross because I couldn't use my real name because I was talking shit about NBC, and I didn't want that to impact my potential employee possibilities down the road,
Right.
Employment possibilities. But eventually, when I put out the Knight Rider Companion, it didn't matter anymore, so everyone knew who I was. But that video was very influential at the time. And we shot that in Glenn's house in the bar area. He was really excited about that one. It was we did it for a Knight Rider convention called NightCon, which was in the UK. I think this was I want to say 2007. I think it was 2007. Uh-oh, Tommy lost connection on his phone. That sucks, Tommy. Yes, Westkess, a car is absolutely dead. And the car you saw in the newer series was not the car from the original series.
Tommy, did you restart your phone?
I actually liked Paul Frees better, Wes. I thought Paul Frees was a lot more sinister. But a lot of it had to do with the way that they wrote the script, where a car was much more vengeful and not such not like a child in Trust Doesn't Rust.
When did he play Carr?
Paul Frees? Or Peter Cullen?
Peter Cullen.
Peter Cullen played Carr, the voice of Carr, in the first episode. It was called Trust Doesn't Rust. It's written by my friend Stephen E. D'Souza. I hope I said that right, or D'Souza, but I'm going to cover both bases here. In fact, I just had him recently tweet Doomcock, so that'll be a nice surprise when Doomcock sees it. He also wrote Die Hard, Commando, The Running Man, The Flintstones, Beverly Hills Cop 3. He wrote and directed Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme. So this is a guy who's been around in Hollywood. Peter Cullen was the original voice of Carr, which stood for the what was it? Night Automated Roving Robot. I'm sorry, I was having a brain freeze. And in Kit vs. Carr in season 3, they brought Carr back with Paul Frees. Most people would recognize him as the voice of the ghost host in the Haunted Mansion. You know, when you're on the Haunted Mansion ride, that's Paul Frees. And
I've been on the Haunted Mansion ride.
Really? Wow. Watch a YouTube video of the Haunted Mansion, and you can hear him. They brought him in because he was more sinister and, I guess, cheaper. I don't know. They brought Peter Cullen back to reprise his role as another version of Carr in the 2008 Knight Rider reboot series, well, quote-unquote, continuation series. Yeah, with the Mustang. The funny thing about that is they paid him very cheaply. They had him record like 2 lines of maybe 3 lines of dialogue, and they just recycled it through the whole show. He just ran it, you know, on a loop, which was a bummer. But it was confusing because people who watched the original series heard his voice and thought that was the 82 Carr, and Kit vs. Carr CPU in that Mustang, and it wasn't. It was like what SJWs do. It was NBC going, well, we're going to make our own version of Carr, and it just so coincidentally happens to have the same name and go haywire, just like the original Carr. But it's not that Carr. It's our new Carr. It's like, yeah, your new car's a GoBot. It can't even take a hit. But they did that because of Transformers. They wanted to tap into the whole Transformers fad.
Yeah, you remember when Carr was a semi-truck?
That was Goliath, actually.
Was that Goliath?
Yeah, Carr was only a Trans Am. Goliath was didn't have an AI. Goliath was a semi-truck covered by the molecular bonded shell with like a gray primer. And he was created by Michael Knight's doppelganger named Garth Knight.
Oh.
I don't know, maybe it's been a while since you've watched the TV series. I mean, it's almost 38 years old.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember the episode where Hasselhoff acts against himself. Like, Garth has a diamond stud in his ear. He has a necklace and he has a goatee.
Where they look identical.
They look identical, yeah. Well, it's still David Hasselhoff playing both roles.
Yep.
But Garth has a deeper voice.
I think I'm gonna have to watch me some Knight Rider.
Oh, I mean, there's never going to be a show like Knight Rider again. Even when they tried to reboot it, I say reboot because I put it in quotes that it was a continuation, because it's kind of like Star Wars. You know, The Force Awakens is a continuation of the original Star Wars movies, but not really. Like, some of the characters are in there, but it didn't really continue the mythology. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the newer series, again, was like, basically, it was Universal trying to make Knight Rider without Glenn. They didn't involve him in any of the creative process. They only gave him his legally required screen credits and paychecks. And some of the fans say, well, if Glenn didn't like it, why did he let it go on? It's like, well, because Glenn had 9 kids to take care of. You know, I mean, got to do what you got to do. But, you know, that was the reason why we didn't get a Knight Rider movie, because the continuation series came out to compete with the movie, and the Weinstein Company got cold feet, and then they bombarded Glenn with nonsense notes. They didn't get Knight Rider. They tried to turn it into this like alien technology thing that it was never meant to be.
Yeah, that's what happens when you make a lot of these old shows new, or you try. You tend to take the charm out of it and try to make it like some kind of more realistic version for the common day audience, you know? And it's like, you don't need that. You lose all the charm of it.
Well, the fact of the matter is reality is boring and depressing. I mean, there's a lot of great things, but that's why reality TV shows are cast a certain way and edited a certain way. You can't just point a camera at something and let it roll for an hour. And you got to have something set up to keep an audience's interest.
Yeah.
You see some of these YouTube videos where they're just on their phone and they're walking down a sidewalk and talking into it. And it's like, unless it's Ethan or something, I just kind of tune out, you know? It's like, so you're walking and going to get milk at the supermarket. Why is that engaging to me?
Check that out.
You know, look at me, I'm eating food at Denny's, and look at this stupid plate they gave me. It's like,
Our friend Cora Nimick.
There's a delay on YouTube, so I'm waiting for the image to pop up. Sweet.
Yep. Apparently, whatever he's burning, it's still burning.
Is it a copy of The Last Jedi?
Oh! Yeah.
Do you remember that video that Ethan did where he actually burned a copy of The Last Jedi on camera?
Oh,
I
think
I
remember hearing about that. I didn't watch that, but because there was a wave of, I think John Talks also destroyed one with a baseball bat. There was a wave of them all.
Well, Jeremy broke copies of, I think, The Force Awakens on his channel.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So Ethan's trying to burn The Last Jedi, and that thing would not burn.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. I heard about this. Yeah. It wouldn't burn.
I love Ethan. I love Comic Artist Pro Secrets.
Well, basically what you do is you just build a really, really, really hot fire, throw it on top. That sucker gonna burn. Just gotta do
Hail
it.
Phantom Menace.
Hail.
Speaking of the Phantom Menace, I wrapped up work on the Volume 1 cover update.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, cool.
So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I did it today. Got it to Steven. So hopefully the volume should get printed and rushed out to the backers.
Cool. I've been very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'll be doing the cover art for the next one. I come up with a good idea for it. It's like, man, as an artist, one of the things that you tend to run into is that how are you going to top what you last did? I was like, geez, man, that was so good. Like, how am I going to top that? Or how am I going to
pull out an Empire
How am I even going to compare to it? It's like, yeah. You don't want to come out with like The Force Awakens and then follow up with The Last Jedi.
Yeah, no. You have any ideas?
I have to kind of read over what he wants to do in Volume 2 so I can get kind of the creative juices going. But I do want to incorporate Doomcock somehow because he's my pal, and he's also a leading part. I think he's got a chapter or two in the book as well. Jesse Milestone has some stuff in there, so maybe I'll incorporate like a cow.
And John Talks is writing the forward, right?
I think so, yeah. I don't know all the particulars, but
I think that's what Steven said.
I have a copy, so I have to go through and read it to see everybody who's involved. It's like I'd like to put like a pair of Nerdrotic's glasses, maybe continue like the still life.
Put a pair of Nerdrotic's glasses on top of Doomcock's mask.
Sure, why not?
With Jesse Millstone's hair. Just do like a collage of everything.
Yeah, Nick.
Well,
you weren't kidding about that special red ink.
Oh yeah.
Man, that red pops.
I want it to be seen in a crowd, specifically Star Wars Celebration.
Hey, when I went to see The Rise of Skywalker, I was wearing my Phantom Menace hat, and the whole time we were waiting in line to get soda, this woman was just staring at me. And it wasn't friendly staring. It was like unfriendly. Very, very unfriendly. And
Are you sure you just didn't break her heart at one point?
No. Nah.
Well, the one thing I've thought about, like for the psychology of this T-shirt, is that when you see someone else wearing this T-shirt, like if you're wearing this T-shirt and you see somebody else in the crowd wearing that T-shirt, it's like an instant icebreaker because you already know that they're on the same page. You know what I mean? So like when I go to Star Wars Celebration and I'm rocking this Phantom Menace shirt and I see other people in the crowd, I walk, hey, how's it going, man? You know, like it's just I want like a sense of brotherhood and sisterhood and family. You know.
Yeah.
And the logo's also on the Phantom Menace volumes book on the back, so it's all kind of ties together. But this is my version. Ethan's got his shirt, and anyone can make any Phantom Menace shirts. It's not about competition to me, you know. It's about sending the message that what we believe matters, and we will fight for what we believe in too. You know, we will fight for what we love, from creatively bankrupt ideas and financially unsustainable ideas, and protect our pop culture. You know. It's a siege. Like everything's being overtaken and ruined. And Phantom Menace is like, enough is enough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the best that could come out of this, maybe, is not that we will win back our franchises and restore them, because I don't know, to a lot of people the damage might be done, but that at least if we win and Hollywood changes, that there would be new creative ideas that begin new franchises.
Well, here's my thought.
That would be pretty impressive.
Much like Knight Rider, you know, the theme of Knight Rider is one man can make a difference. I don't believe that making a difference is global. I think it's incremental. I think it's the little things you do that add up to something bigger. So, in terms of like the Phantom Menace of what we're trying to do for entertainment, we're trying to tell studios, look, you need to remember that fans are your customers too. If you provide a product that no one wants, well, that the majority of your audience doesn't want, you're not going to make money. As a business, making money should be a pretty big priority. And there's a lot of truth to giving people what they want, you know, see a need, fill a need. Mm-hmm. If people are telling you that your ideas in your television show aren't working, you need to go back to the drawing board and rework some stuff, because you're just downward spiral, you know. And SJWs, the reason why their ideas are still on the air is because they are spending other people's money. They're not losing money. The companies that they're infecting are the ones paying for it. And it's my hope, like, and the hope of some other people in the Phantom Menace, I think, who share this idea that eventually businesses are going to get tired of losing money, right? Movie studios are going to get tired of audiences not getting smaller and smaller, going on a downward slope. Look at the Star Wars movies. Track from The Force Awakens to The Rise of Skywalker, and you will see a downward slope in profit and interest.
Well, they got a double whammy because nobody was interested in buying the toys, the new character toys.
Well, that goes back to good, strong storytelling. Yeah. You have a good character, people want to collect it, especially if you have good designs for that character. But it's about more than appearance, right? I like the SJW thing. It's all about appearance. It's about skin color and genitals and gender and all this other stuff.
I tell you what, if they would have sold a Finn with a lightsaber, I'd have bought it.
Sure.
I liked Finn's character before they screwed it up.
I gave Rey a chance. You know, we all got kind of duped with The Force Awakens. I think a lot of us were genuinely excited about the possibilities that movie set up and the way the marketing portrayed things.
So basically, let's just write the people that are doing the writing and being controlled. Let's just write women that smacks men's hand away, smacks them away, and calls them names and tells them they're not doing any good. Let's make that the norm. You know what? They're gonna go bankrupt. doing
Well, I mean, look, the pattern is you have the strong female character who instantly makes all the male characters around her look dumb and incompetent.
That doesn't, to me,
and you see that pattern over and over again.
That's not a strong character to me. That's a weak character.
Well, look,
only someone that's weak goes on the attack immediately and says this or says that.
Well, sure, but there's something to be said about trial by fire, right? The reason we are upset with Rey primarily is she has no training. Like, okay, she has retcon training now, but she didn't have training. She's good at everything. She never fails at anything, except I don't know, emotional turmoil, I guess. But she didn't fail at turning Kylo back to the light, so she didn't fail at killing Palpatine. So she really didn't fail. If she did have any failures, they were extremely temporary. And she could beat everybody, including Luke Skywalker, which is ridiculous because she has, according to the new Star Wars timeline, only 1 year of training. But had she... Imagine if it went this way, right? Imagine if we were in The Last Jedi, and it's Kylo versus Rey in Snoke's throne room. Snoke's dead, the Praetorian guards are, whatever. Kylo and Rey are fighting with each other. Kylo gets smart, takes off her arm, takes off her hand, right? Now all of a sudden, Rey's got a handicap to deal with. She's got something she's got to bounce back from. Like, she can still beat Kylo, but our biggest problem was Rey never did anything to earn being called a hero or to be called the bestest Jedi ever. It was just handed to her. Like, everyone literally hands her everything. Yoda validates her.
Yeah.
Luke validates her. The freaking Skywalker lightsaber validates her.
She didn't go through the 4 stages of the hero's journey, man. Come on.
No, because of SJWs, because of how do I say that? I don't want your channel to get
It's
struck.
worse. It's worse than instant gratification.
Because of Gamergate girl and her idea that the hero's journey is antiquated is I'm trying to say it. My sometimes my tongue gets twisted. Antiquated. We'll just use old-fashioned, because the hero's journey is an old-fashioned, outdated formula, in quotes.
Antiquated is what you were. Antiquated.
Yeah, exactly, antiquated. And the idea that the damsel in distress is an old thing that needs to change, because of that, because she gained popularity with that perspective on storytelling. That's like the SJW's handbook now. That you don't have to earn this stuff. You can just get it because girl power or whatever. Funny enough, you don't see that formula applying to the male characters they write. The male characters are basically, especially in shows like Supergirl or whatever, they're background characters. They're like supporting characters who basically run and get the main character's coffee. They do errands, and they're there to validate the main character that what they're doing is right.
Hey, Wes, are you still driving? Earlier, he said he was driving.
Oh. Yeah, I know the Force is female. Well, I know Sentinel. Rey was never... in my opinion, Rey was never a real Jedi. I mean, she can call herself a Jedi, and she can call herself a Skywalker. The fact that Leia would be retcon trained as a Jedi and then quit her training in one lightsaber duel with Luke because she was afraid that okay, I admit I don't remember this scene with crystal clarity because it goes by really fast, but correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't she concerned that her unborn child Kylo was going to turn to the dark side if she continued her Jedi training, and that's why she stopped? Or was Kylo already born at that time? I don't think he was born yet, but like I said, correct me if I'm wrong.
It's not exactly made clear.
It's very ambiguous, isn't it? It's like she quits for reasons, and then like never picks up a lightsaber again. But you know, Luke apparently had that and never told anybody. So you know, whatever. I'd like to know what happened to Luke's green lightsaber. Because in The Last Jedi, I wasn't surprised by hologram Luke, which basically took its idea almost shot for shot from Escape from L.A. with Snake Plissken. I saw that coming a mile away. Especially he was using the lightsaber we just saw 2 scenes earlier get ripped in half. If he had been using a green lightsaber, I think the illusion would have held better. But, you know, whatever. It is what it is, right?
Green lightsaber.
It is what it is. That's a missed opportunity right there. But I think that was yet another, you know, dig at subverting expectations.
Yeah.
Hail, Sporking News Podcast.
Hail.
So yeah, I mean, I get it. Let's take a character like Selene from Underworld, right? Selene is a well-trained, what was it? Death. Oh God, what was she called?
And I have the movies too.
Death Killer or Death? Not. I want to say Death.
Death Walker.
No, that was. Oh well, she had a name. I mean, so, tell me in the chat, but you know, she was well trained at killing lichens, killing werewolves. And she was a badass. And
Spork says Death Eater.
Is it Death Eater? I thought that was Harry Potter. Maybe I'm just getting that mixed up. Anyway, no, wasn't it Death Dealer? I think it's Death Dealer. Well, anyway, she was trained by the Coven and whatnot.
How you doing, man?
Is it Death Dealer? That's what I think. How you doing,
Tito's World.
Tito.
What's up, man?
Anyway, so you take a character like her, or even Alice from Resident Evil. You know, she's genetically cloned and all that other stuff. But they had a backstory of training. You know, they had a backstory of learning their craft before they were the best at it. Rey would have died several times over because in The Force Awakens, she just runs away from everything. I mean, have you noticed that? Like, every problem she faces, she runs away from it until she gets, women powers at the end when she does her little focus changeover thing and then does the, Palpatine fighting style against Kylo. But up until that point, she's running away from everything. And if it wasn't for Finn, she would have died on Jakku in the TIE Fighter raid. How's that for saving the damsel in distress,
Yep. So, yeah.
I wanted to see Finn be a Jedi. I thought that would have been cool. I have no problem with an African-American Jedi. Not at all. I know we had Mace Windu, but let's be fair. Mace Windu was a pretty bland character, and he was responsible for the fall of all the Jedi, so would be the best example. But
this is a late reply, but yes, Sentinel, I think that woman probably would have been hired by KK. Yeah.
Which one's that?
It's way up there.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I wasn't reading the chat. I get on rants sometimes. I try not to.
Oh, you're fine, man. I was laughing at something.
Yeah, it's all good.
What are you doing, Final?
Well, no, rant away because it's yeah, it's 2 a.m. I'm just a little. I just kind of dozed off a little bit there. Not because you rant, just because I'm freaking extremely tired.
I wouldn't want to be boring, heaven forbid.
Looks like you.
Oh no, you're not. You're not. It's not you.
Looks like you'll have some time to create some videos and stuff like that. Huh?
I know. Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of because I worked tonight for a little bit, so I was at work at 4:30, but then we ended up closing for the next week or two. So Yeah, it's just been a long day. But yeah, I'm gonna have, I guess, a lot of rest coming up now.
Yeah. We got 9 people watching, and it's 2:13 a.m. West Coast time. And just thinking, anyone tuning in from the East Coast, it's like, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m.
5, yeah.
Yeah, jeez. Oh, Sporking's in the chat.
Yeah. But yeah,
people.
I literally think I read a book once by Wallace Black Elk, and he had this thought about people that had degrees and educations that were educated, and I think the same would apply to Hollywood, because basically these government men would come out and they would want Wallace to teach them what he knew, and he wrote a book about this, and he described it and all that, and it was in a native way. It was very funny, the way, and he basically they want to learn how to do lodge, sweat lodge, and basically what he gave them instructions and to bring certain things, and so they brought PVC piping, canvas. They brought all the wrong things, and basically he would say that basically that they may have been educated in that way, but they didn't have a real education. It's like, if you didn't know how to build a sweat lodge, you didn't really have a real education, as far as he was concerned. Because here's real. He was like, this is real right here, and basically it was really funny, and I think the same could be said about these people that are in Hollywood. They think they're so educated, but they don't learn nothing. They don't learn, and they ignore fans. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's because they try to fix. They try to fix everything.
They're gonna have to lose money. They're gonna have to get spanked by losing money that way. And it's the only way that they're ever really gonna listen. And,
well, when you got a company like Disney that makes billions of dollars, it's very hard. Like, if a movie loses money at the box office, in the grander scale of things, it's a drop in the bucket to Disney, and that's why SJWs are able to stay and not get fired for their terrible ideas.
There was recently, wasn't there a stockholders board meeting?
Yeah.
With Disney.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't good. I heard it didn't go too well.
There was a lot of upset people or something like that. That's what I thought I heard. I haven't heard no details, but I heard that it wasn't good.
Well, here, check this out. So, this is very ironic, because you know how I mentioned that the hero's journey was an outdated concept according to like SJWs and stuff, right? Disney literally built their company off the hero's journey, thanks to Joseph Campbell, who came up with the hero with 1,000 faces and kind of broke down the steps of what makes a hero and what makes a tragedy and what makes comedy. And then Christopher Vogler, it's either Vogler or Vogler. I'm bad at like pronouncing names, but you get the idea. He wrote a book called The Writer's Journey. And if you really want to delve into what makes strong storytelling versus what makes weak storytelling, you really should pick up a copy off Amazon. I just bought the 3rd edition, which I haven't read yet. But it's incredibly helpful if you want to get into creative writing. It breaks down like the Jungian archetypes and symbology. Obviously, the steps of mythology from like the Greek tales and whatnot. But Disney, like I said, every animated movie, every animated classic movie was engineered from the hero's journey. It was a guidebook that Joseph Campbell provided the company, and the company used that as a template to create all of their animated films. So if you watch Beauty and the Beast and Hercules and Aladdin, Robin Hood, you know, some of the older classic films, you will see a parallel of these story beats. And there's a reason why those films are so timeless and they endure so long, and why the live action remakes don't have the same magic to them. First of all, we already know those stories because they've already been told. That's why remakes, they might make a lot of money, but in today's modern Hollywood's, aside from the coronavirus impacting box office, making $1 billion is not an achievement anymore. That's like the standard. Making $2 billion is a milestone, which Endgame did. So,
yeah, the Rise of Skywalker should have cleared 2.5.
Oh, easily. I mean,
maybe
look,
3. You know,
Avengers Endgame took 10 years to get to that point. Star Wars took what, 40 something years, 40 plus years to get to the end. I mean, come on, man, that should have been like the movie of this generation. Yes, Sentinel, that's correct. If you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, Beverly Hills Cop, even down to
43 years.
Yeah, even down to Wizard of Oz and all that, it's all hero's journey formula. Rocky movies. You know why Rocky 5 was weaker performance-wise and is least liked of the Rocky movies? Because Rocky 1 through 4 is all about building him up as a hero. It follows the hero's journey formula from one movie to the next. It's all about him losing and coming back from adversity, right? He loses the fight, but he comes back. It's all about his progression to becoming world heavyweight champion. And then in Rocky 5, he loses everything. He's running a restaurant. He's not champion anymore. He's got PTSD issues and memory problems. In the hero's journey formula, that's the cardinal sin. Your hero cannot go back to where they started. That's the one rule you can't break. Because if you do that, it's no longer about a hero's journey. It becomes a tragedy. So you're either building someone up or you're breaking someone down. Right? If you're building someone up, it's a hero's journey. If you're breaking someone down, it's tragedy. And it's just things like that. I'm sure Sentinel's read about it, but it's been that book, The Rider's Journey, is profoundly helpful in like putting together Aymara and building a mythology that works. And I don't care if SJW say it's outdated or whatever, because their ideas are on a clock. You know, they're finite. They have an expiration date. So hopefully, like when I get my books published and stuff like that, and build up a following, maybe with the help of the Phantom Menace and the Fourth Wave, when I get there, we'll see good storytelling coming back to Hollywood again. You know, time will tell. It always does. You know, they can only remake and reboot movies so many times before people just get completely tired of it.
Yeah, how many times can you? That's like basically resurfacing the bottom of your shoes, but not taking care of the top.
Well, look, Disney. I would not be surprised if Disney tried to reboot Star Wars. They tried to remake it from the beginning with a new character, new cast.
I don't think they can I don't think they can remake the originals though. So I'm pretty sure.
Well, I don't think they will do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try to reboot the entire franchise from the ground up.
Oh well, I mean they could be doing that with the New Republic, I guess.
Because they view it like Batman and Superman, right? There's all these versions of Batman and Superman that have come out with different takes on the familiar mythology. Mm-hmm. The High Republic sounds like a disaster to me. I'm sorry.
It does, yeah.
And basically, they call it the High Republic because they don't want to give some kind of percentage to George Lucas. Is that why they're not going to use the Old Republic?
I honestly have no idea.
I think it's the time period. The time period is actually after the Old Republic. It's at a it's not as far back as the Old Republic.
Yeah, it's 200 years before the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, where the Old Republic is like a couple thousand years before.
Yeah, never mind that, you know, the Sith Empire vanished from the face of the earth and didn't show up until The Force Awakens. Or, excuse me,
you mean the face
Phantom
of Corvan.
Phantom Menace. Yeah.
But, you know, somehow there's going to be Sith and...
hey, you meant the face of Corvan,
High
right?
Republic, so, yeah, well, we'll just retcon everything. Kaya Mundi says the Sith have been extinct for a millennia. A millennia is like 1,000 years, people, not 200.
Yep.
But you know, whatever. We got the nihilist. Excuse me, the Nihil gang to deal with. So we'll see what happens. I mean, look, the thing about Disney is you got to give them credit when they do something right. You can't hate everything, because if you hate everything, you're just a hater. Like a legit hater. I mean, there's things Disney's done that I like. I like Kylo Ren. I know people have problems with the sequel trilogy, but as a character, for me, Kylo, I kind of look like him, but Kylo resonated with me as probably the most developed of all the characters that they created in this new trilogy. And I really like how they gave him a decent character arc in The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, Rey was garbage, Palpatine was garbage, but I can at least appreciate that J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio attempted to redeem Kylo from the disaster that was The Last Jedi and sort of bring it back. But the one thing that irritated me the most as a Kylo fan is that we saw him show us force powers we've never seen before, right? Invading people's minds and stopping a blaster bolt in midair and having an entire conversation while doing that. That's pretty badass. And then we never see it again. And then we never see it again. Like, once the mask came off, he's just emo Kylo the whole time.
Yep, went downhill.
It's like, what happened to all those cool force powers? And if Rey, quote unquote, downloaded his training, then how come she fights nothing like him or doesn't use any powers he has? It all makes no sense. Like, the more they try to retcon things in their explained universe, the worse it gets.
Yeah, because they had no plan, and that's what happens when you don't have a plan. You're trying to retcon things and explain things, but it doesn't make sense because you had nothing to fit it off of or fit it into in the first place. So it comes off as very thrown in, very fake, and forced. Because it is, because there wasn't a plan to fit it into. So it's like trying to push a square into a circle hole.
There wasn't a plan, and more importantly, there wasn't a formula.
Yeah.
There was no structure.
We could take it one further. They're trying to smash a boulder into a hole.
Sure.
They don't. Well,
they're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
They don't know what the concept of a round block, square block,
exactly,
rectangle, triangle. They don't get it. They don't get that concept.
Well, and on top of that, people who do understand the differences try to explain that to them, and they act like, well, they're wrong. They gaslight them. Like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I fit a square peg in a round hole once. I'm sure I can do it again. We'll make it fit. New Star Wars, obviously they're going to retcon how the Force works, because that's like their primary selling point with the Project Luminous deal. Was
also
Obi-Wan's,
apparently in Mandalorian Season 2, we just did this story, I think, earlier today, right, Bear, on Fourth Wave, that they're trying to retcon the Baby Yoda character to where the Force, it's kind of like the idea of the Force just wills things to happen, so they happen. Right. Without actually having to train or anything. It's, the idea that, like, well, yeah, the Force is willing Baby Yoda to do whatever he does, so, he does it. And I guess, which is essentially changing everything about the Force.
You mean he's called? You mean he's called a will? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Journal of the Wills, right?
Journal of the Wills. Yeah. Yep.
I know
Not
a lot about
different spelling, but
well, hey, how about the different spelling between Kyber and Kyber? You know.
Yeah, yeah.
We know where Kyber came from. It came from Splinter of the Mind's Eye. You ain't slick, Lucasfilm.
No.
Yeah. All right.
Part of being a original character in the Star Wars chat rooms was understanding the Star Wars mythology. So I've got like all the source books from West End Games that I could find, all the Wizards of the Coast reissues, and the technical journals with all the drawings of the weapons and the ships and character guides and chronology. I got all that stuff. My character Val was a badass, not because he was a Mary Sue, but because he knew how to fight. I never lost a fight. He only used the Force and 2 lightsabers.
He was probably well trained.
Yeah, he was. Well, that was the Jen Zeridian character. Trained him as a Dark Jedi. She was a Dark Jedi Master, and she trained him well. Plus, he's very intuitive. He would look at other people's fighting styles and kind of find the chinks in their armor. But mostly, he had one signature kill move. Like if you're a swordsman, 90% of the people I fought in chat rooms died to this move, because everyone is obsessed with like either stabbing you through the chest or taking your head off. All you have to do is stand. If you're standing in front of them, drop to one knee when they go to swing at your head and slice them across the midsection. Done. Because they can't get their arm back in time to deflect it. The only way to counter that move is to jump back. But most of these characters had such a big ego, they never thought of that. And that was Val's signature move. Unless, of course, they had a double-bladed lightsaber. Then it doesn't work because they can pull out the other blade. Ignite the other blade, like Exarchon style. If you go on my website, you can find all my like fan art from my Star Wars days. There's a character named Crimson Vashon who was the only one to beat Val within an inch of his life. She's pretty tough. But I based her as a homage to Red Claw from Batman the Animated Series. That kind of red and black color scheme. But if you go on my website, you'll find something called the Versailles Chronicles if you want to read some of my old fan fiction. I mean, it's not great, but it gets better as you go along. Like anything, you're going to start out really rusty and bad, and then get better if you get more practice into it. But it'll give you a timeline of where my characters fell into it, because my purpose was to create basically the story of Star Wars from another man's journey. So it didn't, like, Val had crossed paths with Vader. Val's biggest connection to Star Wars is that when Darth Vader and Obi-Wan fought on the Death Star in A New Hope, when Vader went to chase down the rebels, Val picked up Obi-Wan's lightsaber and walked off with it. So in my world, he had Obi-Wan's lightsaber. And he'd also had training before and stuff. Like, it wasn't a Mary Sue thing. He knew what a lightsaber was and all that kind of thing. But just fun things like that. Like, how can you take elements from Star Wars without contradicting the established canon, especially the movie stuff, and kind of work around it? So, like, Val's father, his name was Russell. He was one of the Lost 20 that defected against the Jedi when Count Dooku defected. He was part of that. He saw the Jedi as too arrogant and basically eunuchs. Like, they wouldn't do anything and basically like huffing their own farts, So he saw the writing on the wall. And then the Jedi, they kidnapped Val as a little kid because they thought Val was the chosen one before Anakin. Okay? So it's kind of like the idea of what happens if you've got the chosen one, but he's not the chosen one. So they kind of filed him away in the younglings, And Obi-Wan knew Val's father, so he recognized what happened and returned Val back to his dad. But that's kind of how I involved Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan into my storyline without interrupting, the sequence of the movies. It's just fun stuff like that, because look, it's easy to write fan fiction with characters who are already established, right? You know how Obi-Wan acts, you know his mannerisms, you know his features, his looks, his fighting style, Dooku and Vader and all that stuff. That's all been figured out for you. But it's immensely more challenging to come up with an original character who has their own characteristics and their own inner turmoil. That's what fascinates me about storytelling. To give a character dimension and depth that goes beyond just their appearance or their gender. That's what we didn't get in the sequel trilogy. We didn't get characters with an in-depth background. I guess we got a decent one with Finn, with the whole Stormtrooper deal.
Yep.
But it kind of didn't go anywhere. Like he didn't grow stronger from it.
I really wanted him to be a Jedi. That was
I do love that he got his ass kicked using a lightsaber. Like it just further underscored the idea that you need to be trained. You need to be trained to use a lightsaber. I mean, that was evident even in The Force Awakens. At least as far as he was concerned.
He experienced the hero's journey in Force Awakens,
Of course, yeah.
And then they wasted his character in the next two movies.
Feline Sith in Star Wars Galaxy. Yeah, that's cool. I remember Star Wars Galaxy. It's Star Wars Galaxies, I believe. The online mass multi online MMO. I think that's what they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I did like Star Wars roleplay and stuff. I got to like live in this illusion of a Star Wars world and spontaneously interact with other people who were playing characters. Like there were Luke Skywalkers and there were Mara Jade characters and there were original characters and Sith guys, and there were certain rules you had to follow to stay alive and be on your toes. And it's called T1 storytelling or story. Yeah, it was T1 story chat room fighting. It was a thing, back in the prequel days, and it was a great outlet for creative ideas because you were all kind of like writing a story together, but how your story was written was based on how your character fell into it. So if your character lost a duel and lost an arm, you had to keep that in your character. You couldn't change that. So and if your character died in a fight, you had to start completely over with someone new from scratch. There was no recloning yourself or just, respawning where you last left off. So people had to get better because they didn't want to lose their character that they spent years building, months and years building up. There were Mandalorian characters, It wasn't just movie characters. There's original stuff that people came up with. My friend Jason, here's a little Star Wars fact for you guys. My friend Jason came up with Darth Bane first. Okay, let me tell you a story of Darth Bane. Jason was role-playing Darth Bane with the obelisk armor before Lucasfilm ever dreamed it up. And what he did...
Nick, hold your... Final's going to take off real quick. He's going to go to bed. He's tired.
Oh, sure. Yeah, take care, buddy.
Hey, take
yeah,
it easy,
see you
man.
guys. I was just texting in the private chat. Nice talking to you again, Nick. We got to do this again.
Yeah, well, it was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed talking to you.
Not often, but you're a great batch of guys.
Yeah, and we try to do the late show. Usually, I don't know. I guess we're gonna do it. I don't know. We have to figure it out. I guess it's gonna be Saturdays, but I think weeknights might actually work too.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
We
Saturdays are tough because I'm so tired when I get home from work, and then I try to do this, but I start falling asleep. So
basically, Saturdays we can probably limit it to an hour to hour and a half.
Yeah.
But it's this time, and we had 9 watching just a little bit ago.
That's really good. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll get into the Darth Bane story next.
But
time.
before you go, you wanna see some Borg Queen pictures.
Borg Queen pictures? Was this leaked from? Yeah. Put that up.
Get my
Borg Queen. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Banner. Fair use ticker. All right.
Oh yeah. Gotta get that ticker up.
Well, she's not the Borg Queen.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
7.
really cool. Yeah, 7 and 9.
7 basically as a Borg Queen.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, that's when she got plugged into that.
Yeah.
The cube. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was from the last episode.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and then for some reason it says Annika still has work to do, and it magically disconnected from her. Oh, have you not seen the episode yet? I don't want to talk spoilers, man.
Have you seen episode 8 yet?
I have.
I was talking to Final. Final, have you seen it?
Yeah, we watched it together.
Yeah, together.
We had a stream party and we watched it together.
Yeah. But look,
I'm just saying, I don't want people screaming at me for
this
spoilers.
like showing? Is this supposed the green stuff? Is that supposed to be her spine?
I
Yeah,
would
think
imagine so.
Like the connection points in her spine. Yeah.
So basically, her whole spine is metal.
Yeah, probably.
And you know what it resembles?
I mean, look, the Borg Queen's spine was metal.
I was just gonna get to that point. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So.
They never really explained how much of. I don't think they ever explained specifically how much of 7 of 9 is Borg and how much is human. I mean, they did do the whole like nanites in her bloodstream deal, but they never really explained like underneath the skin, like what, like anatomically. At least I don't recall it. It's been a long time since I've seen Star Trek Voyager.
They didn't really. There were some times where, like near here, Borg parts where her skin ripped and it showed metal underneath. Yeah, I'm exactly with you. They didn't explain that very well.
Is she only in Voyager? She's not in Generation?
Nope. She was in Voyager only.
She's only in Voyager. Okay.
That's why people were wondering how would Picard know her.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. I thought, oh, maybe I missed when she was in Generation because I can't picture her in Generation, but I thought he knows her, so must have been there. I just don't remember it.
No, yeah, Hugh and the Locutus thing was Generations or Star Trek Generation.
So how does Picard know her? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. Like,
they know each other. They know each other from the link.
Which link you talking about?
The Borg link.
Oh, that
Collective.
thing. Yeah.
Oh.
So they know each other that way.
Okay.
But they socially through.
So we can say they know of each other.
Right.
From a collective memory.
Okay. They know what each other's memories are, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a weak connection because she could have just basically said, "Janeway told me all about you," because we know that Picard and Janeway know each other.
But you see, Janeway was a legitimate character. They would have been legitimizing her as a genuine, real woman, a real woman captain. They didn't want to do that.
Well, but they'll have Admiral Sandbags tell Picard off.
Dropping F-bombs.
I call her Admiral Sandbag. I can't remember what her name is.
I was gonna call some other stuff, but Admiral Sandbags will work.
All she does is go on there to drop the F-bomb. I mean, twice.
And well, she must be a really good actress because I don't like her. I don't like her character.
Well, that's when you know they're really good. When you really have a strong emotional reaction to someone, you're like, "Oh, they're doing their job well."
Well, they're doing that. They're doing the Star Trek trope.
I feel like Data when I ate something I didn't like. Yeah, I definitely hate this.
I hate this. Do you want more? Yes, please.
Yes, please.
They're doing the Star Trek trope where the admirals are always deranged or bad or sinister in Star Trek. If you notice, like consecutively in most of the Star Trek series, the admiral's always doing something nefarious. Even in Into Darkness, the RoboCop Peter Weller, Admiral Marcus is doing things nefarious as Admiral of Starfleet. So I wouldn't be surprised if Admiral Sandbags was doing something nefarious as well. Obviously, we know the Federation is not what it once was, but
and apparently
you can see the foreshadowing.
And the foreshadowing that I'm seeing is it's failing because women are in charge in this TV series, and so in a way they're really not making women look real good in this TV show. If that's what they choose to depict, and that's what they're depicting. They're depicting women that are maniacal,
they don't
that are in
see
control.
It that way. That's the problem. They're blinded by their own arrogance and hubris. They don't see it. They don't see that these ideas don't work. They think that if you're not accepting their ideas, there's something wrong with you. That's why they gaslight you. They being the SJWs.
You're not involved enough.
One thing my dad taught me something. He goes, you can yell and scream all day long all you want. No one will ever take you seriously. And my dad told me, learn to intelligently converse and speak and get your point across that way. Because if you try to yell and scream and get your point across, you're going to lose every time. And nobody will take you serious. And I believe that to be true. Because basically, with me, the moment someone starts yelling and screaming, the argument's won, it's over. And the conversation's done.
Well, sure, because you can't negotiate with an SJW because an SJW has already made up their mind how the world is. So even if you go with the best amount of facts and specifically common sense, and it doesn't fit their agenda or their perspective of the world, you're never going to win. It's a losing battle. It's basically a stalemate. And you know that's true because as soon as you start to win in the conversation, they block you. They run away. Unless they got their buddies with them to gang up on you, they run away.
What did you think of the new RoboCop movie? The only reason why I watched it and I kind of somewhat liked it was because I like the actor.
I hated it. I understood what it was trying to do, but it was too safe. It was too family-friendly, PG-13. Let's not go there. And then it was too much. Like, you couldn't just have one Ed 209. You had to have like 4 of them and 3 in a lobby or something. It was just was no sense of specialness to it.
Here's the thing. They need to stop kissing other countries' ass and making movies to suit them when let's make movies to suit the United States where we're at here. Because that's what we want. Hell with them. Make good movies. Don't kiss their ass. That's what I say. And on that note, Final, you want to give your little...
Yeah, I am FinalDeathStar. You can find me at FinalDeathStar on YouTube or at FinalDeathStar1 on Twitter. And most Saturdays, my schedule depending, on the Fourth Wave with my fellow Fourth Waver Bear Nerd Fun, and Sporking News Podcast, the author, Stephen Walton, and Immortal Coil.
Sweet.
Yes, indeed. And guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Tommy, also in the chat. And
it was a pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, and Nick, it's really nice to talk to you again. I hope we get to do this again.
Yeah,
very
man, have
soon.
a good one. Get some rest. Stay safe out there.
I know. You too, man. You too. It's crazy here in LA, so be careful.
I'm like self-quarantine myself in my
I know.
home.
That's kind of how we are too now at this point.
I heard that there was going to be some enforced quarantine areas out east. I just don't remember where.
Yeah, I've heard possibly out west too. So, in the next day or two, we might be hearing more about that.
Yeah, and basically, let's just say that there was talk about this happening, and it was predicted. And
yes.
There's an old saying: "The proof's in the pudding." That's all I got to say.
I know. Yeah, this what they had talked about this very very early on. They had mentioned the possibility of like National Guard being involved and all this kind of stuff. So it is interesting that now we're seeing it as a possibility.
Well, it's pretty much standard protocol for a state of emergency.
Yeah, I guess you kind of have to have the National Guard involved.
Yeah.
Because what's the point of a state of emergency?
Well, like they had similar things with the LA riots.
Yeah, yeah.
On a smaller scale, obviously, but they had similar mandates that they declared to control, the looting and all that sort of thing. This is a lot more involved, I guess. I think for us in California, it greatly depends on how badly we get hit by it. Right now, we've got the least of it. So if like thousands of people start getting infected, then we're going to have a problem.
Well, you know why there's so many cases here in Washington State near where I'm at. Guess what's near me? The capital. Washington State.
Oh,
no, Washington State.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
And it's Olympia. Olympia is the capital. And it's literally not very far away. I could drive there in
Well,
5
we
minutes.
got it because of tourism, really. We got it because of the cruise ships and the planes.
Well, politicians that are coming back and forth, any one of these politicians could have been in China,
Yeah.
Because, there's global economy, global business, and government people. They all got to communicate and talk. They all got to have meetings and stuff like that.
Sure.
And they fly to different countries, and it's the thing of the world, And basically, when it comes to illnesses that are as bad as the flu, or if not worse, well, thank God it's not like the Spanish flu. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, the advantage that we have is that the beer virus is not airborne. As long as it doesn't become airborne, we can cope with it. But if it was an airborne thing, I mean, it would be crazy. Like 12 it'd be like 12 monkeys crazy, like people walking around in hazmat suits and all sorts of crazy stuff. So,
do you remember that movie Outbreak?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a TV show I'm watching right now with my wife, and I'll tell you, it's good and it gets you sucked in, and it's probably worth watching, but it's also kind of freaky based on what we're going on right now. But it's called Containment, and it's a series. It's like a 1-season series on Netflix, and it's pretty good. It's about a virus that gets out in a part of Atlanta, and they have to lock it down, like a quarantine zone. Yeah, it's pretty cool show, and it shows you like how quick things can get ugly.
Yeah, I mean that hits close to home now.
Mm-hmm.
It's always.
I know we watch it, and we're like freaking out because like, oh my god, this could be, not so much fiction.
Hey, I put it to you this way: know your exits.
Yeah.
Plan.
Yeah.
That's right.
Don't panic.
The ocean. I'm headed to the ocean.
Yeah.
Like logic and reason wins every time.
No, mountains.
Emotional distress,
Head for the mountains.
Well, yeah, but you can count on your own, but you can't count on everybody else's.
That's right.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
That's the problem.
You know the old saying, head for the hills.
Yeah, run to the hills.
Just don't head to the ones where them hills have eyes.
One of the big Iron Maiden songs.
Oh yeah.
I
think we've endured a lot of things as a as a country and as a human race. We'll get through it.
Oh, since
We've
9/11, man, we've been going through.
We've
some
always
stuff,
found ways to endure. We'll find a way to get through this. Isn't it interesting?
Honestly,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, honestly, like you said, like it's not airborne, it's not Ebola, it's not the plague.
Yeah, it's not the second coming of the Black Death.
Right.
That's how they want you to think.
I was reading an article that was talking about, and it was saying that it's easier to get this stuff compared to Ebola.
Well, it is highly contagious, but it is not at this time totally, instantly lethal, I should say. I mean, yeah, it kills people who have existing conditions or the elderly, but it's not like a real plague a really bad plague where if you get infected you die in like 5 minutes, or 10 minutes or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
At least we have a time period to control it. The problem is with something that's so easily contagious, it only takes one person to infect an entire area.
And you can't really track down who's infected who and where they've gone and who they've.
Unless you had some kind of technology, some kind of Ghostbuster
you track,
goggles,
like, the signature of the virus, something like that.
That'll show you areas of where it is.
So basically, avoid public transportation, avoid public places, and chill for a couple weeks.
Well, here's the last point I was going to make. Isn't it interesting that for something that's supposedly a massive threat to the human race, as the media would portray it, that these businesses, especially the theme parks, are only closing till the end of the theme parks are closing till the end of the month, and some of these Comic-Cons and convention things are picking back up in the summer or in October. So none of these businesses believe that this is going to be a year-long thing that we have to deal with, and it's going to take a year to get a vaccine or whatever to control it. But remember, the flu can't be cured either. The symptoms are controlled, but the flu can't be cured. So in that respect, if you remove the lethal nature of the virus, then you've defeated it.
And I don't know if they're just giving that timeline because that's when the average flu season ends. So they're saying, well, we'll give it another 2 weeks to a month, and flu season's over, and hopefully it'll kind of die out by then. I'm not, because it is interesting they give that timetable. It's like, well, why would you think in 2 weeks to a month we'd be any better off? Unless you're just assuming that's typically the end of beginning of spring, and that's the end of the official flu season.
Well, also because in a massive place like Disneyland that gets millions of people a day, they have time to go through the entire park and sterilize everything, before they reopen it, and make sure they get every little nook and cranny. Plus, the more people you have gathered in a space, the more likely that the virus will spread, right? Although, interesting enough, no theme parks have reported any positive cases of corona, I guess we could say coronavirus without whatever, of the beer virus in the theme park itself. Like, these are all being closed down as a precaution, not because there was an outbreak that infected 1,000 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all just
when Disney made the announcement, was trying to run like that. Oh, Disneyland closed down because of this. Massive panic. And no, it's precaution, and it's smart. I mean, I agree with it. I agree. Close down, purify your locations, give some time to get some of the cases cured. Get some people healthy again, because it takes 6 days to 2 weeks to 6 weeks at the most extreme case to get over it.
Yeah.
And the less places you have, the less potential you have. That's why other countries are locking down everything. But it's like you said, if the virus gets worse in California, they will start doing curfews and martial law kind of things, and that's going to be scary. But I don't think it's going to come to
New
that.
Jersey right now. I hope not. I hope not.
I mean, we hope. We're cautiously optimistic that it's not going to come to that.
Yeah.
The reason why Italy and Japan and China and all of those countries have the highest cases because they're in the epicenter of where it started. We're on the other side of the globe. That's why we haven't really had a problem. And that's another reason why, and I don't want to get political, but, Trump closed down all travel because he wants to eliminate the possibility of the country becoming contaminated by outside travel, outside tourists. And I think that's a smart thing to do. I know there's people that disagree with it, but look at the country. We are the safest as far as contamination goes for a reason, because we took those steps.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. That's just the reality of it. It sickens me that people are politicizing this thing. Like Democrats are politicizing it. It's what they do. But
it's one of the things.
I know. They're using it as a political weapon.
Well, they'll use anything they can against Trump because they don't like him. It's just the way it is. He can do no right, but he can do plenty of wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it happens.
They're also using it to try to sabotage his re-election.
Oh yeah. The timing of it, it works perfectly for that.
Well, every election, there's always some kind of tragedy or viral outbreak that pops up around election time.
Yeah.
Which is just interesting. But, yeah,
all right,
man.
Guys, well, I'm going to take off. I will answer Tommy and Sentinel. We're talking about Iron Maiden in the chat, and
sure.
Yes, Sentinel. I've seen them 19 times now, live in concert.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen them more than any other band. I've seen Kiss close. I've seen Kiss about 14 times, I think now.
Wow.
So, but yeah, Iron Maiden I've seen 19 times as of this last year when they played the Forum. Yeah, Somewhere Back in Time tour. That was a great tour. I saw that in New York. Yep. That was like basically their Live After Death sort of with some of the Somewhere in Time. Yeah, that was a great tour. Their set design for that was awesome too. Yep, I'm a big Maiden fan.
Sweet.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. Stay safe, and I guess if we're all quarantined, we'll have time to be live streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll have a lot of live streaming.
Yeah. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate you.
Of course.
Hail the Phantom
You
Menace.
too, guys. Hail the Phantom Menace. Fourth wave.
Yes, sir.
Hail.